there any changes to the agenda?
Added on since it wasn't on the, send out the layout.
I didn't hear a word you said.
This one, 8.7.
Oh, you're asking if anything was added. Sorry. Yeah, so 8.7 has been added since this was
Okay, cool.
sent out.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Public comment on agenda items. Did anyone submit a form? Jaron?
Yes.
Yes.
There's more.
Elaine?
Oh, Elaine Pierce is going to speak. All right, Elaine, you get the floor. It's your turn. Yeah, apparently you are addressing the board.
You turned
really?
well.
Haven't we done that, this is what we do, this is how we do it?
Yeah, we did do it that. Wake up. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, okay.
You're amongst friends, so that it's low stress.
Okay. First of all, good evening. It's sort of evening.
Yep.
And for those of you who don't know, my name is Elaine Beers. And yes, I am related to Mary. By her marriage, we are related. We're on the same family tree, but entirely different limbs. Okay? Okay. And the reason that I'm here this evening is because I have been hearing some things in the community, and rather than hearing them, I'd like to find out what's really going on. Rumor has a way of becoming a wart, and rather than it being a wart, maybe it's just a pimple. But you don't know that until you find out. It's my understanding that a while back there was some PE testing done, and there was a paper that was put for choice for the children, and the paper was headed, "Do you identify as a boy or do you identify as a girl?"
I just want to interrupt you for 1 second. You're going to keep talking.
You gotta be loud.
You get 5 minutes. I just want you to know that, and the alarm will go off. I didn't say that to you before.
Okay. Well, in that case, I'm just read it up. Okay.
Good.
My concern is in 3rd and 4th grade, I don't know if that children know the concept of I identify as. And when I was back in school, which, that was barnacle time and dinosaurs, if there was concern in sex education going on or going to be introduced to the health classes, there were papers sent home so that the parents or guardians were aware of what the children were being taught and could choose yes or no whether they wanted to participate. I don't want to offend anyone, and I have to tell you that I'm ignorant of the particular vernacular that needs to be used, and if I don't use the correct vernacular, I'm sorry. I just don't know it. I'm not trying to offend anybody. Okay. I want to know whether it is state mandated now for school districts to introduce to children of various ages, whether it's a state mandate that children are introduced to what I would refer to as physical, birth, gender, transforming physically / psychologically to a different gender. I don't know if that makes sense, but that's the only way that I can say it. So I don't know if that's a state mandate. Is that a state mandate?
I don't know about that state mandate. Do you know of a state mandate that addresses that?
There are state standards that I can share for health education that are inclusive of all gender identities. And so use my voice here.
Before we answer too many of our
Yeah.
questions, should we jot them down and let you finish?
Yeah, that's the best process.
My seconds are ticking.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
I did stop your time while Sue.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, okay. Also, I heard, and I don't know if this is true or not, and I'd like a true or false, was there a pride parade at the Mapleton School District? True or false?
We respond. Okay, well, we got that question noted. Keep going.
Well, I need to know because I want, if there was, then I need to have clarification on what the concept of a pride parade is. It would be my understanding that the objective is to be positive and bring attention and rejoice to individuals who are feeling a need for transformation. That would be my understanding. I don't know if that's true because you didn't answer my question. But so then my next question is, was there a Memorial Day? And I fully expect that to be no. So then I'm going to ask, is it not the reason for Memorial Day to thank and pay respect to the men and women of the military services? So, the school district promotes a celebration for gender transformation, but does not celebrate the very men and women who fought and died supporting the Constitution, which gives this principle the very right to speak as you will. Interesting.
Jen.
Want to answer a couple questions?
Yeah.
Up to you. You can either answer them here in this meeting, or you can talk to Elaine another time. Up to you.
Yeah. I think, Elaine, I appreciate you coming. A lot of times we're taught as a board, hey, public comment, don't respond in the moment. And I'm always grateful that people show up and want to know, and it's awkward to not respond.
Yeah.
So I'm going to take a couple of these, and then I'm happy to follow up further. So they may be shortened responses,
Okay.
but I'm happy to connect and discuss further with you.
Mhm.
Hi, welcome. Can you, am I talking loud enough?
Not really. Just interesting.
Yeah.
The fire department, there's a car, a blue Honda parked, which there's a drill night tonight and it can't be parked in front of the building.
Oh, that's probably
Does anybody have a blue Honda?
Parked in front of that building over there. 'Cause they have a drill tonight and.
I parked behind the company, like back this way.
I don't think it's you.
Okay.
Do you have a blue Honda?
I do, Honda Odyssey minivan. Mine.
I mean, it's her.
Okay.
All right, I'll go move it.
We're pausing for a second.
No, I-
Welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome. Thanks for showing up.
Perfect.
We're taking a little hiatus here.
I'm sorry.
We're moving a vehicle. We have to move a vehicle. So, yes.
Oh, no, I was through. There's some recovered. I still one. I know I still the top page. Do you want it? Just want it in my. Oh, we should share this. I'll try to make it one.
Was anybody looking for public comment? Or there's those forms are there as well, if public comments are interested. Oh, take mine. These are, yeah. Are you sure? Just so people know we're taking a quick pause while we
And then we'll jump right back into
Go for it, so you can continue.
work. Okay, and I do want to. It's awkward to sit and yell there, but I want to make sure you can hear me. Are you? So a couple things that I've heard. In terms of the paper, just clarifying that there was nothing written on the paper, so it was a set of fitness standards for boys, set of national football or fitness standards for girls. And the comment by the teacher was, if you identify as a boy, take this paper, and if you identify as a girl, take this paper. And they went, took their papers and went and did fitness testing. So nothing was written. Yeah, and it wasn't intended as a teaching sex ed moment. It was a use of inclusive language to grab one of those papers. I do want to share the follow-up to that based on input from families. We did take the two sets of standards and put them into a single table. So it's all on one sheet now. And the next fitness standards testing, that sheet was given to every student and we had data for both. So based on the input, we did make a change to how that form was distributed. In terms of the question about state mandated, there are state health standards and state sex education falls under the health standards that require teaching of all gender identities and that they're inclusive of all gender identities. And I can share those. I don't want to spend a long time on it, but I can send those out. Or we can meet and take a look at them together. And then the following question was about, was there a pride parade? We have a GSA, which stands for Gay Straight Alliance. What is that? GSA, Gay Straight Alliance, which is a club on our middle school, high school campus. And it's a club that's on most secondary schools in, I'll say Lane County, Oregon. I'm from Arizona. It's a common club. It's a voluntary space for members to meet. And I shared in prior meetings, we don't know their sexuality. We don't ask their sexuality. They could be an ally or identify as a member of the LGBTQ community. And so that group for Pride Month, the first week of June, did host a series of lunchtime activities, not a parade that I'm aware of. There were like, the one that I engaged in, there was a paper up on the, in the hallway and hand painting and just to make a mural of support and allyship for LGBTQ youth. Not specific to trans youth, not specific to gay youth, just LGBTQ Pride Month in celebration. And then the last question about Memorial Day Parade, I can go back and ask what I will share is as last year example. I don't know specifically this year, so I don't want to give false information. But there was a march with flags in the elementary campus where they went through and celebrated and honored, I don't know if it was Memorial Day or Veterans Day, but it was one of those two. And we make space for all of those things, just like a club has the opportunity to celebrate and make an inclusive event. So do teachers about military recognition and other celebrations. So I can tell you at least once last year that was part of our curriculum. I'm not sure, or not even curriculum, part of the student experience. And I can't say yes or no if that happened this year. So I think that gets to all of your questions there, and I'm happy to discuss further. Let's schedule a time, and I'd love to have you come in.
Your Honor.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Elaine, and thanks, Sue.
Yep.
We're going to move to the next item on our agenda, which is the Wilson Architecture, the TAP update.
Yeah, so I had a chance to connect with Kurt. We're kind of in that same waiting for PBS Environmental to submit the quote. He talked with them again this week, and
For the gathered, what does TAP stand for?
this is in reference to our technical assistance program grants, and their state support for getting your ducks in a row in order to do facilities improvements. This one specifically is for asbestos abatement, specifically in the middle school. So we're waiting, we want to upgrade that building, and we can't do that step until the asbestos is abated, and we can't abate asbestos, is that how you say that?
Mm-hmm.
Until we get this quote and get a vendor to do this. So the short version is we're waiting on that. They did commit to getting that. We're towards the top of the list. We think it's coming sooner. After that quote is given to us, that's to create the drawings. Kurt thinks that's a 3 to 5 week process, but that assumes there's somebody available to do the drawings. And what he was explaining, and I think he said a lot of this when he was here, the first half of summer is heavy asbestos abatement projects because people want to get, like schools are trying to get that done. And then that slows down in the second half of the summer is renovation projects. And so he's expecting that more availability comes as that first round happens. We did discuss, and I met with Jaren about this already, whether we could speed up the process by, while they're doing the drawings, do some negotiation directly with an identified vendor and kind of run those two parallel. The procurement rules say that anything that's between 25,000 and 100 and 250,000. No, dang it, is that right? But between 25,000 and 250,000, which this project is going to fall in, we have to get 3 quotes, and getting those quotes without the drawings. I don't know any vendor that's like, yeah, let me give you a quote for not knowing what we're doing. So I don't think that can speed up in that process. So right now, I kind of tried to get a timeline with her, and it's not up to him. We're at the kind of waiting for the next person.
Yeah, it doesn't totally make sense to me. But like, what are the drawings to help them with their quote?
The drawings say where we're.
So is it that thing where we're like, we want to do this, and this first or not?
Yeah, at this point, because we're waiting this long, I said just draw and actually you guys said that in that meeting, just draw the whole thing. And so that's what the
ask drawings isn't actually, because I feel like there's already a picture. Does drawings mean where they're drawing their testing things from? Or is like drawings not this, is drawing taking the testing?
Drawing, and it's
so why do they have to draw?
Architectural and project, everything has to be to code, and that's part of the process. And that's why facilities work goes so dang slow. Like, just to acknowledge. So,
and probably what we saw was just like the first version for us, but not like the final version that contained all of this stuff to code and whatnot. And I don't know that. I'm just guessing from.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, this was
standpoint. That was like, just go pull the things and then get the things.
It's like what you wouldn't do this if it was your place.
No, I did it, and it happened way faster.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm kind of a squeaky wheel, but I don't understand all the steps to get there. It's in the walls, it's in the floor, it's in the ceiling. Go take the samples and get it.
They've done the sampling, so that's what the first part of this whole thing was the sampling, and they have all those results. Now they have to make formal drawings to say hey, here's the quote, how much
Isn't
it's
there like a
gonna
blueprint
cost you,
somewhere?
and do it. We,
Okay.
1939.
Yeah.
yeah, so,
They make them money.
no, well,
Yes,
there's,
I like that.
yeah, I won't say anything right now, but yes. So we wait, and Kurt's making those calls. I ping him about once a week and say any word, and we keep going
It
through.
was
and-
so exciting a couple months ago.
Yeah, it will be exciting once it goes, and I do think like that conversation about like,
Totally.
if we have the money, let's just do
Yeah.
it. We've talked, I mean, that, at this point, that's the thing, because it doesn't, if we have to meet in 4 chunks, this is gonna take 6 years. So, let's just get it done as.
And once you get them going, you probably should just do it all at once. You'll never get them.
Right.
So that's where we're at.
All right, well, thanks. Thanks for the update. Any other questions for Sue? Let's move on to the district reports. You're going to tell us about the Division 22 standard update.
Shall we speak up?
Oh, really?
No.
Oh, we are moving on to the district reports, and Sue's going to talk to us about the Division 22 standard update.
Yeah, so,
Sorry.
So Division 22, we are, I actually have something. We are, so I've been giving updates with that list. I forgot to pull this up, and it's probably not worth the time to pull it out real quick, but we have had state approval for multiple on the list that we have moved out of non-compliance and into compliance. The most recent was the literacy, there's a requirement for dyslexia training that they came back and met with me and said, hey, in small districts, if somebody at the ESD is trained, this is a checklist, submit a form, and I got a response that that's been approved. And so the nice thing about that is it doesn't require us to have that training. We actually have 2 teachers getting trained in August. So we're going to take care of it, but if there was a turnover, then that doesn't put us out of compliance for a while. And the ESD has staffed in a way to help small districts. So that's the most recent update. And I'll send you guys the current list as an update. I apologize. I overlooked that one.
That's okay, we got you. Let's see. How about the middle school and high school?
Yeah, so we wrapped the year up. We had our graduation. Thank you, Michelle, for handing out some diplomas. I'm excited. This year's group compared to the year prior, and this isn't about kids. This is about our support for scholarship applications, and they got a lot more money than they did the year before. And I actually was talking to Kay Graham, who does our Gear Up grant, and that's a huge focus of our Gear Up supports. And she was naming all these places that we're not accessing yet in terms of money for post-secondary opportunities. So we expect that to only keep trending upwards. I'll share on my Facebook page. I'm from Arizona. My former district is a huge district, but they have something that they call like $1 million kids, and they get at least $1 million in grant or scholarships. It's scholarships. And every time I see one, like every spring, there's a handful of kids. I'm like, I'll find $1 million for a kid. Like, I think it's something to strive for because that money is out there, and especially for first generation college going students, like that's a place we're not tapping into yet. And we have a number of students that applies to.
I just want to shout out to whoever made it happen, and to anyone who showed up to Mapleton graduation. Again, it is like this most special, unique to Mapleton experience, and it's always emotional. I mean, you don't have to know the kids to be weeping. It's beautiful, and it was an honor to be there. when Danelle, you said something about walking in the door, you know, you come into a Mapleton graduation, and then you said it's been 30 years, and I was like, say what? You graduated 30 years ago. I mean, I wouldn't have put that number to it, but the reality is that, yeah, that's crazy, crazy. But it's just a delicious experience. I mean, put it on your calendar. You don't have to know a graduate. You just want to go there and feel what happens in the Mapleton graduation. It's unlike anything I've ever been to.
And I can share from a staff meeting, I don't have the exact words, so I'm not gonna pretend to quote, but there was senior quotes from their senior project presentations and sharing the impact of Mapleton staff and Mapleton community on them. I will say there was not a dry eye in that room. And what I do know is the last one was Mapleton Saved Me. And I don't know which senior said that, because it could, like, I honestly think a couple it applies to. But like, they are so rooted in Mapleton. I was at a graduation celebration for a senior who their grandparents came up and were like, I've never seen anything like this. You don't just do this for one student. It was all of them, and I got to talk to them and it's the graduation ceremony brings that energy out. The work of the staff and the students in that partnership is something special. So anyway, giant celebration there. We do have on here a senior project presentation, and unfortunately, Kylie's is amazing. That all of them did great work, but her presentation and research is really strong, and we wanted to give an example for the community. Unfortunately, she's been under the weather and is picking up work hours to make up for that. She is planning to be at the August meeting, so I apologize she's not here tonight. But we do still want to showcase the senior projects because they're an example of what, like, I challenge students all the time, leave a legacy, and that's what the senior project is about. What are you giving to campus and to your community, and how are you applying those academic learnings and research and all the things within this endeavor? I'm super excited that this year's seniors presented to, so let me back up. This year's seniors didn't identify their senior project until almost close to mid-year, just before that, and then they have time to do it. They did amazing in a short timeline. This group, and this is because we're bringing this project back out of COVID, it kind of went dormant and we're coming back. So they presented to the junior class, and the junior class submitted their proposals for their senior project in the spring so that they have a full year to work on those aspects and really bring their ideas to fruition. So I'm excited to see. It's only going to grow. I think I'll stop middle school. Oh, well, there's shared and common. That'll be the transition between there. I know we talked about professional learning and input from the staff about the use of the Wednesday late start and PD plans in general. Two approaches that we did. The first is individual surveys and meetings with and conversations with staff in their evaluation processes. That's been a focused area of conversation. And then the second part in our PD day, this one was with certified staff on the Friday PD day, and then the following Wednesday. We kicked off the accreditation process, which I'll describe in a second. But in that is specific feedback about a number of indicators that fall into 4 domains about the school district and where we're strong and where we're improving. And this is the framing for our continuous improvement effort. We're doing those already, but this is the piece that we're gonna loop the cycle of continuous improvement around and have articulated strategic plan. Strategic plans are that's not my favorite word to describe it, but continuous improvement plan that there's an ongoing cycle of feedback related to these indicators. And I'll share that more. That will. So Kay Graham's going to lead that process in terms of engagement. We started with certified staff. It'll include community input, student input, board input, all those pieces. The first step is a process that says, yep, you have enough in place to go through the full process. And then the full process is really digging in and identifying those strengths and priorities towards a continuous improvement of the district overall. In terms of accreditation, I was surprised when I moved here that to Oregon that accreditation isn't required in Oregon. It's recommended, but there's a number of districts, even in Lane County, that are not currently accredited. There's a few that have never been, but Mapleton has been accredited. I want to say it was like 14 years, but over a decade. I don't remember the exact timing. And accreditation, what it says is like, hey, we meet the standards of high quality education for students and have our systems and processes in place. And this is where we're improving. It's not, hey, we met the mark and checkbox. It's these are the important parts. We pass a threshold and we're working to get even better. What that does for students is you're from an accredited, especially graduation transcripts, you're from an accredited high school, and that gives more clout at some universities, right? It's not a requirement at this point. People from Oregon have been going to colleges without accreditation, but it is an important part to say, hey, we're a good, strong district, put us on the map.
Do you have any idea what percentage of high schools are accredited?
No, I will look this up. I'm not even
right.
Yeah, in Oregon, it was way lower than where I was from originally. I'm trying to remember if I know that even. I knew that in Lane County, but I don't even remember. So.
Okay.
District report. Yep, and then elementary report. Also finished the school year. Had an awesome, fun day at the end of the day with bouncing house out there and all the things, and just watching students really and staff really celebrate the end of the year. It was a fast year. There is consensus about that. I'm still convinced somebody like put the clock on double time, and we're all in like an experiment. But but we have kicked off summer school yesterday. The sun's right behind me. Miss Jackson is in the back here, Miss Janet, and our summer school is focused on embedding tribal and shared history curriculum, and with a focus on pollinators. And next week is National Pollinators Week. Tribal and shared history curriculum is a state requirement that we're not doing at the level we should yet. And we're approaching summer school as an opportunity for teachers to dig into those materials, learn some of their own, do some of their own learning, practice it with kids. We're working with Lane ESD's Native Youth Wellness specialist who came out and supported some of our field trip today. And the vision, and it's very project-based, and the vision is planting pollinator gardens and on campus. You may have seen some posts looking for canoes. We found them, and the goal is to have those planted in canoes on campus and start building like a the signage for a learning space on our campus where the students are sharing their learning for the public there. So we'll have a gallery walk that last Monday, July 1st, and we're approaching this not as like that project ends on July 1st and we never do it again, but kind of setting the stage for further work for these kind of approaches on our campus. We talk a lot about valuing place. We have four values on both campus that we talk about: valuing ourselves, valuing each other, valuing ourselves, valuing learning, and valuing this place. And in this case, we're really focused in on valuing this place in our summer learning experience. I think yep.
On the elementary, everything coming up. Any questions from board members to Sue about her reports? All right.
Just one quick, summer school ends July 1st.
July 2nd. So we will have our third field trip on July 2nd and be off campus. Today, just to share, we went to Alton Baker Park in Eugene, met with a beekeeper who did some overview of beekeeping and shared his a demo. That's the right word. And then visited the Calapooya Talking Stones in the park, and then students went over, first and second graders went over to the Museum of Natural and Cultural History at the U of O. First and second graders did the Camas Oven workshop and visited the museum, and third through sixth graders did Oregon archaeology detectives and got to visit the museum during that time. There were visits to the park playground in between, and lots of kids got ice cream. I don't know if first, second made it over there, but I know third through sixth got it. So,
What's the total number of kids involved?
31, and not everyone's coming every day, so average attendance is probably closer to like 26, 20, 25, 26, but I think it's 31 students, if I recall, that are signed up. And all first through, so we have a couple of kids going into seventh grade, but mostly next year's first through sixth graders.
Great opportunity. Okay, let's see, 5.4 wellness report from Courtney Stone.
Hey everybody, so today I'm just talking through a few recommendations that have been passed on from student council. We went through a process that involved our guardian class to review the current local wellness policy. You're getting a copy of what they did, but unfortunately the grayscale copy doesn't show the pink and blue highlights. So I emailed you a PDF you can check out later, but to summarize, they essentially indicated what they currently see in place and then what they don't see in place off of the wellness policies. And then based off of that feedback from the gardening class, a subcommittee of student council worked to put together the recommendations that are on the last 2 pages of this document. So these are things that they suggested either be changed or added to the wellness policy. And just to kind of summarize, I think a big piece of what they talked about is that part of the policy is about how you're communicating information to families and students, and a lot of it specifies like paper flyers, and they kind of just shied away from that generally and said the parent square is a more effective way to reach parents and families than sending flyers home. They also did not love the idea of additional assemblies. So that was a piece of student feedback that they said they liked the small group discussion time in their crew sessions more than kind of getting a full class together. So those were a couple of things with communication. They wanted more culturally relevant and participatory activities to input on meals and meal priorities. And I think, so for reference, these recommendations were approved, I was checking in like March 19th, which feels like a lifetime ago. So since they made these recommendations, I do think we've done some fun things for like menu prioritization and getting their input based on the school institute process. So everything kind of got built into that. So we've got some of those things in place. The students did like a top 3 menu review, took back data. based on their feedback, we're potentially changing the timing of breakfast. So there are things we're trying to implement based off of their feedback about meals, but they do generally want to see more structure or being able to input into what's going on in the cafeteria. Summary note.
Courtney, can I jump in real quick? Just in terms of what's passed out, the policy where they highlighted is the first 3 pages of that. Their letter with summary and written by the student government is the last 2 pages, so you can see a summary there. I wasn't sure which to put on top. And then one other thing I just want to share before you jump back in. So every district needs a wellness policy. This was actually flagged during our nutrition audit as a space because there hadn't been especially student input, but broad community input. So the due by October is an updated local wellness policy, and that's to meet the requirements of nutrition services, but also because it's good practice. And then we are standing up a wellness committee, inclusive of staff, students, and community members, because that's included in the wellness should be ongoing committee work, and that will be started in the fall. We do have some people that we've reached out to just say, can you serve on this committee? So.
Yeah, so, these will probably be things that can fit, but the students definitely supported the idea of starting a wellness committee. That's something that they wanted to have space in and like specific structured seats on. And they wanted more movement built into the school day. Part of the policy says that movement will be built into every classroom period, and they were like, that was not the case. And, certain classes are easier for movement inclusion than others, but more movement in the classes, and they also suggested just more outside the walk during the day or taking school walks. That's something that the policy had said would be good to do, and they're like, yeah, actually, that would be cool. We should start that. So that's potentially something we could do with the student council, but these are things that, came from the students, and hopefully I know that we'll continue to work on both with the wellness committee and the farm to school.
Fantastic.
And I think I shared last time that the Farm to School Institute that Courtney is referencing is in July, and we have it's through Echo Trust, and we have that's right. We talked about this because somebody shared like sometimes that's geared towards city schools with a lot more resources. We're excited that our coach runs the school farm at Elmira. Am I right?
No, our coach works for the Wilmette Farm and Food Coalition. Elmira, he came and did a walkthrough.
Okay. Just kidding. This one I shouldn't talk. But but our supports are localized, and we're reaching out to those as part of this, and then setting action plans and kind of coordinating that movement forward. So.
And we're one of 10 schools in Washington and Oregon that are in this inaugural Farm to School Institute, and honestly, almost I think 8 or 9 are very small rural schools. So it seems like the types of challenges that pop up will be shared, and they also have some great resources already. I'm excited.
It's so exciting.
I'm just excited about this too, but one of our graduating seniors is going to come to the retreat with us and also be a seconded coordinator for the farmers market over the summer. She came from our gardening class, so trying to hold on to those seniors is positive. Yeah.
So great. Well, we really appreciate it.
Courtney, what's your position?
My title is the Upriver Vision Coordinator, but I tend to describe that as student leadership and community engagement. And I am one of those roles for this summer is working to pilot our farmers. If you have any questions, feel free to.
Yeah.
And there are surveys out for both potential vendors and community members that, and Courtney's looking for connections. We're excited to do those pilots, and bring more opportunities to the Mapleton proper area, through there, so.
Yeah, thanks for what you bring. I mean, it's incredible, the role you play and what has transpired because you're at Mapleton. We're very fortunate. I'm wondering how many policies have student input? I don't ever remember seeing this. And it's really pretty relevant and empowering.
So, the answer is not enough. But in terms of process, really going through and building that accountability for, like, we say we do this, do we really do it? And does it make sense? I think is great process. This is an area to practice, and just seeing like the work of student government to have that voice and organize and really be asked to lead civically as that role. And like, this always comes out negative when I say it, and I don't mean it that way, but dance planning is important. It can't be the only thing we engage student government in. And so these are the pieces. How do we teach process and those kind of things? And watching this play out is awesome. So, yeah, and just open opportunity that as we go through policy updates and reviews and all those things, some of them don't make sense. There's a lot of policies. We don't need to do it for every single one.
Right.
But open invitation to the whole board. If you read something and you're like, what do students think of this? Or it can be community too. Like, let's get their input on it. We have a process.
Exactly. Fantastic.
I do have a quick comment or question or concern or whatever it falls under. When she mentioned that the students prefer like communication wise, like that they do like the parent square thing, fine, love it. I know you're trying to change over the website is attached to it, but app-wise on your phone, and I don't know if I'm doing it wrong, I don't think I am. And a lot of what I noticed I can't get it to function in is like calendar attachments, or like, especially like when it's the last basketball season, I can't see it, and you click on it, you can't blow it up, you can't do anything. I don't know if they need to attach it a different way. I mean, I have to wait till I go to work, pull it up on my computer, and then really dissect it.
Okay.
But you can't blow up attachments.
Yeah.
And so it'd be nice. I don't know if there's a different way to attach things, or if there's something different in the app, or if it's just never going to work app-wise. Like when you click into it on your phone, you can't see things that are attached.
Like maybe it should be a link to something.
Yes, a link to the attachment. So then
Yes.
when you go there, you can zoom in on it.
Yeah.
You can't zoom in, so you can't read anything that you're.
Yeah, I've had similar troubles, so that like I don't even look at the attachment.
I don't either. I just wait until I can get a computer, and then I blow it up. Or hey, kid, we just bring the home calendar instead because I can't see it on this phone.
Okay, I would, I'm gonna put it on my list to look at a phone soon.
Yeah.
I don't always open them on my phone because I've seen them
Yeah,
all.
if you did,
and so-
like go to any
Yeah.
Vanessa's, like you're not gonna be able to
Okay.
zoom those. And
Yeah.
so all of the things, like whether it comes from Jamie or Carly, you can't.
The attachments are the issue. Okay.
Okay. You got something? No. Okay. Finance tech maintenance report, documentation.
So, we spent some money, had our bond payments, had first payment to Cool Breeze to go towards our new freezer, payment to Peterson to go towards our new engine in one of the buses, towing for one of the buses. Well, that was 2 buses. But we got the white bus back, so hopefully we'll get the other bus back sometime. What's the other?
Sometime, you mean like the summer? Sometime? Okay.
It's kind of like asbestos maintenance.
It's a spare one, so we have spares, so we're okay. We had, I think I mentioned it last time, we were looking at CEP renewal, the community eligibility program, the food, so kids eat food stuff. We had dropped when we renewed at the start of this year, so last summer when we renewed, we only hit 80% on it. The state made up 10% to get up to 90%, which is where we had been. So that means if 10 kids eat lunch, we get reimbursed for 9 of them and we have to cover them all. So at 90%.
Is that what it was before?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so the state, for anyone that's on CEP right now, the state, whatever your level is, the state will take you up to 90%. There's a side fact, there's a business manager who wrote saying, you know, what do you guys do about all the, we've got thousands of dollars worth of unpaid lunch accounts, you know, how do you guys handle it? I wrote back and said, get on CEP. Don't have to worry. But we just renewed, they had sent out some numbers a little bit ago in case anyone wanted to get on CEP. And I looked at where our number was, and I said, hey, calculating in my head. So we renewed rate and hit the 100% rate. So we're at 100% CEP now. So that gives us a little extra money on and E-rate when I possibly go out for some, because E-rate for some tech stuff goes based on that rate also. So that was good news. That worked out. Payrolls or closing out payrolls for the year this month. Got all 4 of those taken care of. Worked on shifting grant stuff around today to try and balance stuff out and start requesting money from the state. Getting that money rolling in, hopefully before they shut down, so I like to get it in before the end of the year, so hopefully get it in. There's, let's see, tech-wise, we had students turning their Chromebooks at the end of the year. Went pretty smoothly, got the majority of them back. Not too many seniors have contacted me to get their restrictions taken off like that. You know, the seniors get to keep their Chromebook and stuff, so they have a computer to use in life. Started that, well, let the ones last year keep them, but the ones this year got new ones actually. So cool. But I like to have them bring them to me so I can make sure that it's the one that's assigned to them before restrictions and only 2 have. So we'll see if the rest do. I mean, the Chromebook still works. So I was going, all right, ordered a few more Chromebooks because they died. And so getting some to replace them. So, ordered a, seems like I'm always working on upgrading the security camera system. But there was a question from the officer about an incident the other month that we had, wanted to know if we had video footage, and my footage stopped 2 days. This was just yesterday, I think. And so my footage went back to the 22nd, which is pretty good still. I mean, that's 3 weeks or so. But yeah, so it was 2 days too far in the past. And so I thought, you know, it'd be always nice to have more. So I spent $150 and ordered another recorder so I can split out the cameras so then there's less load on, so it'll have a further, it'll hold the stuff further. So just because one.
So you mean like once it just cycles like so you use her, but so you're saying the cycle will be long.
Yeah.
And last year we went from like.
Yeah, we had about
10 days.
Yeah, we had about 10 days last year up to.
No.
3.5 weeks or so. And still want to get some more cameras put in. Now that I know, I mean, the asbestos report didn't say anything about asbestos in the ceiling of the middle school, so I want to get in there and throw some cameras in, run one over to the backside so I can see the backside of the buildings and stuff. And so not as worried about crawling around up there now. So might try to do that this summer. So, yeah.
Any questions for Jaren or? Thanks for taking good care of us, Jaren. We appreciate you. Couldn't do it without you. Like 99% of what we do goes through Jaren. Yeah. Okay, well, here we are at the consent agenda with the payroll check register, the accounts payable check register, and the prior month's minutes. I will entertain a motion.
I move for passage of 7.12 and 3.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Unanimous. Thank you very much. Action items, the budget adoption. We met and we voted and now we get to approve. So I will entertain a motion on 8.1.
I move to approve 8.1.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Unanimous? Thank you. We got a budget. That's helpful. We have our North Star. Science and math plans and approval.
Damn. This is short and sweet. There might be a couple extra copies, but I'll read it out loud.
Sure.
I can read it.
I can give it to you. Do you guys want one of these?
That's okay, we can.
She's gonna read it out loud.
I'll read it. Well, let me give some context first, actually. So each year in a kind of 7-year rotating cycle, there's a curriculum adoption process. And so it starts at the state where they identify and update with broad involvement from teacher groups, community members, and then it goes through feedback cycles from across the state. And state standards are adopted for a given subject. And then the next stage is instructional materials review at the state level. And so publishers and or organizations that make instructional materials can put in and say, we want to approve this, thank you so much, at the state level. And then it becomes an easier to adopt curriculum for a school district. You can adopt things that aren't on the list, but those need to go through an even larger local process to do instructional materials that aren't on the state approved list. There's a rubric that the state uses. All of that is publicly available. In terms of the 7-year cycle, sorry, okay. In terms of the 7-year cycle, this year, health is in, they've done the standards review and the current state level processes of instructional materials review. This year becomes affectionately known as the Year of Health, and districts go through that process. This year that just passed was the Year of Science, and the year before that was the Year of Math. And then the year before that was the Year of Literacy. There's a few more in there, get to 7, and then it loops back. When I came into the district, the literacy adoption process had just happened. We've talked about this with the updated literacy program and curriculum that we're using. And we have focused our efforts, especially at elementary, but K-8, well, no, across the district on literacy. in order to do that, we did say, hey, we're not gonna overwhelm teachers by also doing new math curriculum and new science curriculum all at the same time. I'll speak for educators in the room, that's hard. And it's, the fact that the state does literacy and math back to back is probably one of the poorest choices in this whole process, because those are your two biggest lifts and they should have some time between them. So if a district, and unfortunately this often happens as a result of budget, for us right now it's not a budget issue, it's a teacher's time and attention issue. We want to do what we do well. So we are out of cycle for both math and science just passed, so we officially become out of cycle for science. I'll read this and then tell you what the actual process is. So the Oregon Department of Education recommends that all districts request permission to postpone adoption for a year to ensure that all districts in Oregon comply with Division 22 requirements to have updated curriculum. Even though we plan to complete adoption this year and implement next fall, getting approval from the Oregon Department of Education provides some insurance for our district in case some unforeseen circumstances arise. We will keep you updated on the progress of our math and science adoptions as the year progresses. Our current plan is to have our final recommended materials to you by the March 2025 board meeting. Essentially, I'm saying in the spring.
For that following fall.
For implementation the following
Fall 25.
Yep, so that decision would be, hey, this is what we landed on, and then the following fall, over the summer, we'd make sure we have all those materials ordered and we'd implement the following year. There is a statement where I fill in the form online. It asks for the reasoning. This is what I plan to submit. I have to submit it twice, one for math and one for science, but to make things easy, our district is requesting postponing our math and science adoption this year to allow for more time to seek input from our stakeholders, craft our vision for science and math education in our district, and ensure that we have adequate time to pilot materials prior to purchasing. And I think that the biggest thing is I want to know from when we spend money, I want to know that it's on the right thing. And in terms of piloting, so we've actually started the math pilot process this previous year, and sixth through eighth grade, and part of geometry utilized it's called IM, so in illustrative mathematics. And with positive review, what we haven't done well in this first, when I say started a pilot process, we need to get systematic at collecting that impact from or input from both students and families. And so that pilot will continue this year. There is very strong feedback from the math teachers in use of those materials. And this is a state-approved curriculum on the list. So we'll continue that adoption. What happened in them piloting is sharing across staff that like, hey, we like this a lot. And a teacher at the lower elementary level said, I really, really, really want to pilot for math this year. Can I try this? Can I try a different curriculum? And it was like, hey, I heard that they like it. Can I look at that one? And elementary was just released this year for this particular resource. And so it's out, it looks good. I like math education is my background, so I know a lot of people in math education who speak highly of this, and I said, let's try it out. Offered at first grade, but asked the elementary team for permission because I didn't want to get us ahead of ourselves when we said we're going to focus on literacy. And I actually had two other grade levels. Fourth to first, third, and fourth who are asking to pilot that same curriculum. So we'll do that. We'll solicit formal staff, student, and family feedback and share those along the way. Similarly, we're kicking off science. There's an element of that that's already at play. Our high school science, or sorry, middle school and high school science teacher has been working with ESD staff to identify materials for piloting. A spring pilot took place, and then we're gonna, and the feedback was strong enough that they wanted to explore the other curricular areas, and we're going to continue that pilot this year. So again, we'll be soliciting that feedback and sharing that in process. And making a decision. And what that means is like piloting a single curricular resource, instructional resource, isn't always the best idea. We can pull another one and take a look at that as well. Staff has open permission right now to be looking at those resources and pulling and trying things. And they, in multiple areas, we're working with ESD specialists in those areas to get access and kind of look through curriculum that seems the best fit on our district and for that teacher.
So this is an action item.
It is. So the reason it's an action item is in order to submit to the state to say, hey, we're going to postpone a year, we're in process, but it actually requires board approval to say, yep, we're all on board with this plan.
All right.
Open to questions before that too. People have questions.
The question I have is, you said literacy and science are the two, it's the worst.
She said
Literacy and math.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Literacy and math are it's the worst configuration. What are the avenues of advocacy to change that? I mean,
I worked at the state and yelled about it all the time, and it's not changed. I don't know, in all honesty, but I do think it's a space to. And I actually have one more really strong piece of advice for this process that I've yelled this in lots of spaces, especially when I worked at the state. But doing all of these subjects separate, what it does not allow, which has the biggest impacts at elementary, is integrated approaches to education. So what it does is discreetly say, you'll use this for math, and this for literacy, and this for science and social studies, and so on. And I personally wish the state would say, and here's this other process allowable if you want to look at these things in tandem. And I think it would push instructional materials creators to think more integrated, which would help us.
But there are not that many that do it that way.
No, because you can't get it
I
approved.
mean, the creators, are there not that many that make their curriculum in that way?
No,
It's really easy to do like science and literacy together. And
you can't get approved if it leaves all this stuff because they don't
Because they're
understand it
separate.
on the rubric. Yeah, and so but that gets talked about in these spaces, but I think it's a huge avenue for advocacy in terms of strong instruction long term. Do I know the right door? Like, I feel like I banged on a lot of doors.
Yeah.
I feel like I had responsibility for it at one point.
Is this
And
a
maybe state board?
yeah,
Yeah.
maybe. So is that like superintendents would go to the state board?
Yeah, or board.
put it
Like, I think it
put
could
it
be a
small
district.
districts, take it to the
Yeah.
state board.
Yeah, I think that's a great space for advocacy. I know we're going to talk about some goals later, or like follow up from our training, but I think that could be something that we talk about in our retreat work session.
I mean,
to
you
say-
do have staff members who teach cross-curricular.
Absolutely.
Well, like,
We
there's
may have to go through this ridiculous circus that the state requires us to do. This is not the only thing that we're required to do that we think doesn't really make sense. But teachers close the door and they teach kids the way they know that they need to do it.
And I think this is one of the tensions of being really transparent about what students are learning in classrooms, right? And we've talked about this with health education, right? Here's the transparency, here's the materials, you can come look at them anytime, and balancing that with teachers' there's a word for it, teachers' autonomy to teach aligned to standards, but for resources that work best. And that is like a huge balancing act in classrooms and school districts to say, yes, it's these materials, you've seen all that, and except that teacher supplemented over here and that wasn't in there, and that feels like not transparent, so
It would be a lot more consistent. It was all, I mean, I've seen great literacy programs that have science and history in it.
Yeah.
And what I
It's so easy to implement math into, but math and science and.
And what I will say is our literacy curriculum that we are doing is very heavy in social studies standards. We've actually, it's almost complete, but as part of an administrative project for somebody, it's for Leah Dunbar, who was doing her internship with us. Sorry. We have a document that crosswalks all of those social studies standards. She's working on the tribal shared history connections, social studies, and there's an opportunity to look at the science crosswalk. She didn't take on that part. Science isn't her background, but that would be the next iteration of this so that we can have that publicly facing and people can see, hey, through literacy, we're hitting all these standards.
Yep. Awesome.
So we're attempting that, and the instructional materials review process does not make that work easy.
All right.
I had a question real quick. So you said first, third, and fourth is doing the pilot of that?
For math, and six through 8 will continue using that resource, and so now we'll be at those grade levels.
So then first and second are combined. How does second?
Not for core instruction. So for math, 1-2 splits, 3-4 splits, 5-6 splits, and so teachers had a choice whether to do that.
Okay.
Just, I think I know the answer, it's part of the process, but just double checking, like this is, so in this, between now and March 2025, part of it is piloting, teachers piloting and getting teacher input, but then also like we do say for public
Community,
input, like here's what we're considering, please provide input. Right?
Yeah, and we'll have that, my guess is every other month, an update on that. If it seems like a lot, it might just be monthly, but at least every other month we'll update that process. And just to name, we're not asking for permission to, well, what I was gonna say is we're on cycle for health, but we're gonna include health in this cycle so that we're doing a lot of these kind of concurrently, to get on cycle.
Okay.
Well, I move that we approve to postpone the math and science adoption to this following school year. Is that easiest then? Okay.
Yeah.
I second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Cool, thanks.
Yeah.
I'll get that submitted online.
Thanks. You're going to tell us about health insurance plans?
No, Darren is.
Okay.
Oh. I mean, you want
So we had negotiations last year and right about the same. We had finished the negotiations and then they made it so, well, and then Kaiser, I think, opened up in Eugene. Kaiser's another, we just had MODA. Kaiser, you have to go to Kaiser, their facility and stuff. So we're just, since it's available in Eugene and we have a number of staff that live in Eugene, then we're just creating that as an option, running it, like, I don't know if you looked at the sheet, but similar to how I have MODA set up, so similar cost. So the similarly costing Kaiser, we cover stuff. And if you pick the HSA one, then we do the 150, just like with MODA and stuff. And if you pick the highest tier one, then you pay the difference and stuff. So running it the same as MODA, we're just opening it up so staff choose that.
Okay. And that requires board action.
Yeah, since it's changed to the certified agreement.
Yeah.
Choosing both of them. I move we approve the health insurance plan change.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Anyone want to talk about that? All those in favor? Thank you. Unanimous. Okay, classified contract renewals. These are all folks that are already in our employ, so this is just, we're just renewing their contracts. I'll entertain a motion.
And move that we renew classified contracts that's written in 8.4.
Any discussion? Okay, none, all those in favor? Unanimous? Thanks very much. The superintendent contract, we are going to move this to the August meeting because we actually have not discussed. So, that would be in August. And this is really, more around the increase or your salary. It's not about, do we want your, we want, just to be clear.
Can I say something to that real quick?
Yeah.
That might make this fast. Jaren, we're still at 1% for, COLA for certified.
Yeah.
And I told you guys the same thing last year. I think, we bargained that was certified. I signed a 3-year contract when you guys hired me at the beginning, and I'd be happy to take a 1%, and match there, if we want to move faster on it. Like, I'm fine waiting till August if folks want to talk about it, but, usually people are asking for more than 1%, so it might be easy to just move it forward. It's totally up to you if you'd like.
I mean, what's the pleasure of the board?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, then I think we have to, we have to wait.
But it's good to know.
That is good to know.
Piece of
Yeah.
information, good piece
Yeah,
of,
yeah.
yeah, good to know. So,
Great.
didn't make sense.
And is that a executive session or just an open conversation?
That's open.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah,
So I
so,
was talking about the superintendent's salary.
yeah, so each, yeah.
For each year. Is that the thing, like cost of living, increase type of thing?
Yeah.
No certified, uncertified.
But I mean, if you're more comfortable to wait till August, that's fine.
I think we should wait until,
All right.
yeah, but it is good to know that already and then kind of just work that into the conversation.
That should go quickly.
Okay, personnel hire. Want to tell us about Elizabeth Hudgens and Angela James?
Yeah, so, the first is, should be a familiar name. You all approved, hire of, Beth, formerly Elizabeth, for literacy instructional coach, either last month or the month before, I can't remember. Our committee, that was made up of elementary teachers and classified staff, went through a robust, is that the right word, process, for first and, second round interviews. Second round interviews included day-long visits out to the, campus, engaging with staff, kids, all the things, and then follow-up conversations afterwards. Through that process, we had really strong candidates who were not part of our group, who were missing something, and a lot of times it was elementary specific experience, or each one was different. And through that process, realized, hold on, we just hired an instructional coach who actually might be the best fit for this position. And the committee invited Beth to apply and went through that process, and Beth was identified as the best candidate for the elementary school full-time principal position. So we're excited, yeah. So we've talked about it once before, now in a different capacity. And then Angela James, we had, this is Joyce's retirement position. And Angela James is the candidate who was chosen for that position.
All right.
And I guess I'm excited. It's hard sometimes to find people interested in both custodial and willing to drive bus, interested in bus and willing to do custodial. And what I like, the excitement about this hire was like really an interest and excitement in doing both. So.
And could say that, yeah, we're shifting, Joyce was a 10-hour straight custodial. Shifting this so the position is the same as what Nova and Jamie are. It's 4-hour bus, 4-hour custodial. If there's a route, otherwise it's 8 hours custodial stuff and kind of moving. So when Tammy and Michelle and we have another bus.
Brenda. Yeah.
And Brenda. Once all 3 of those kind of start disappearing, we'll turn those positions into the same thing, I would say, so that we have all bus/custodial people and stuff. And so this is, so Angela, yeah, is a substitute bus driver for the most part and stuff, but just.
Getting trained, building that pipeline. I just, there's not a lot of districts that run their own busing anymore because it's hard to get drivers, and I think we're lucky because we have that, and maintaining it requires recruitment and training of people who want to drive bus for us. And so, yeah, kudos, especially to Randy on this work of maintaining that system. Because just because you don't run your own system and you contract out to others doesn't mean you have drivers. And so we're in a good spot. Often we're called and said, we need a driver, does anybody know anybody? And we're kind of quiet about knowing people. We need them. Sometimes we did share for a while. So.
All right. I'll entertain a motion.
I move to approve the hire of Elizabeth Hudgens and Angela Jones.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? I would just like to say, as someone who's been around a couple days, the move to have a full-time elementary principal like it used to be in Mapleton is exciting, and I know I'm not the only one who feels that way. You don't have to be around for a long time. You could have gone to school there, or you're a teacher there, but to have a dedicated elementary principal is what our school strives best with. So I'm stoked. Anyway, all those in favor? Unanimous. Thank you very much. Layoff of special programs director position.
So I'll start with, this one's not easy at all. And it's specifically the position. Just as a reminder and for context for people who are here, there was a retirement last year, and this position was created as a way to meet that retiree's wish to still remain half-time, and to continue some of those, to lead some of those programs who that stretch our capacity to do the other things that we need to do. And to the point that Michelle just made, having a full-time elementary principal, a year ago, I sat in this seat and was like, we could do it with 2 halves. We've talked about this, I think, especially at my evaluation. I have been humbled, and it's not. And what I do want to say is, I wouldn't change anything in terms of trying it, doing it. I have learned probably more in this year being there. I've developed my skill set. I have reality about where my skill set ends and begins, and how hard it is to balance. It feels like a small district, so it's like, oh yeah, that's just like a school of this size, but those are 2 fundamentally different jobs, principal at elementary and principal at middle school, high school. And anyway, there's a lot to this. What I want to say to start with is this conversation is about the position, and I want to acknowledge there is a person in that position, and that is hard and not fun. But this is a budget and staffing conversation, and that split isn't sustainable. And those programs that fall under this purview, we have the capacity in place to lead those. And my charge and aim is to get us back to a staffing model that's not person dependent. We have, I'm going to use Kate Graham as an example. I hired her to do Europe, and in this split, she jumped over and is a half-time middle school, high school principal and Europe coordinator. We had awesome success with Europe this year, and she's doing that in her spare time on the weekends because her time is spent as middle school, high school principal, and for both personal, like, I don't want people working beyond what they're being paid, both personally and legally. And so we have to be careful with that. And the way we're arranged right now is spreading a lot of people beyond the box of their job. Budgetarily, per year, Jaren and I were looking around staffing this in the way that we need to going forward is about a $20,000 a year cost savings, and gets us towards more efficiency of being in the right roles. And then if somebody leaves from a role, it's not person dependent, it's position dependent, and we need to get our positions in line where everybody knows their roles and responsibilities of that position, not, hey, you're here, will you do that too? There's a lot of that happening. I'm bouncing around on things, but the ultimate, the ask or the action item is a layoff status of the special programs director position. There is Jen, did you pass those out? Yeah, there's board policy, CPA, there's an AR that goes with that, that's printed here. There's process, there's rights involved, all the things. Today's not about the person in that job, it's about the position. And then there are steps that can follow if that's an action that the board approves. There is one, I have to cough really hard and I hate doing it in public. Give me one second. It's a lot of time.
And she's had a cough for like months. This cough is not letting up on her.
I've been trying to get that cough for months. I want to acknowledge this is June 18th, and this is not where these decisions should happen or be approved. Time-wise. Yeah, so the rightful space to do that is in March, sometimes with, extension into April. I want to share, this was something we needed to explore and did explore in the March time, end of February, early March. And part of our process of exploration is reaching out to our case legal services that serve for employment protection, make sure, we're following all rules. And unfortunately, I got an answer to a different question. And so I think it's a correct answer, but not to the question I was asking about layoff of the role. And so when I got the answer, it was like, hey, this isn't, you can't do this in this time frame. It needs to be done by this point. Those pieces weren't in order. And so we had moved forward with the process, assuming that role would stay because we couldn't do that. We looked at other avenues for both staffing and cost savings. And this conversation came back up based on one portion of this connected to nutrition services, that's not the focus of the story. But when it came back up, I got different information and it reached back out and said, is this true? And they've said, yeah, that's true. So I unfortunately, I was operating with, not accurate information in the March timeframe. And, I want to own that. I'm learning in this position and I didn't know the difference between the various types of movement. And I wish I did. I do now.
Okay, well, this is an action item. I need a motion. I'm not hearing a motion.
Well, I'm just like, I just want to make sure, so laying off the special programs director position, basically, we're gonna, those duties will be assumed by, in part, elementary school principal being a full-time, like, single position, and as well as any other.
That's part of it, and people like special ed director role. We have more staffing than we've ever operated with in the special education area, so that would go into the school psych and case management role. Nutrition services are, I don't know the title of that role, but food service, our food service coordinator will become our food service director, and has been carrying a lot of that role already. And so the short answer is yes, assumed into a lot of roles. Well, I don't.
Sure, no, it's okay.
But some of that is, yeah.
You have a question, Janelle?
I just wanted clarification of what the special program is.
So the three areas, sorry, wasn't clear on that. The three areas of the position are food service, nutrition services, special education director, and after school. We got the new 21st century grant, so after school coordination.
I coordinate those three things.
Yeah.
Oversee them.
Yeah, it's just
I mean, I think you're not hearing a motion because it's an uncomfortable thing, but I do agree with the sort of restructuring in order to be more efficient, both in terms of work and compartment, making job descriptions sort of, I don't know, like
More streamlined.
Yeah, more streamlined and also budgetary. So I will move to approve the special programs.
A second.
Moved and seconded. Any other discussion? Janelle?
Another question, is there a special ed teacher right now? Somebody that's in charge of the special ed program?
We do. So our school psychologist. So last year this is the first year we've had this position, and so it's a school psychologist position that's inclusive of special education, and the model that we're working towards this fits.
That's who
We're helping to understand.
will continue the special ed program with this position not being there anymore? Or on the new principal?
Answer to that. It's collaborative for sure. I will supervise, maybe that's the better answer. I will supervise special education staffing in that program. So ultimately, that would be good.
They're not the teacher, as far as like the teacher, that's not them. Like that's not the psych person or anyone else.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor? And all those opposed? Okay, motion passed. Let's see. Okay, first read of our policies. And anything to be said from the superintendent?
No, there's a lot. I might need to, then pick this all the way through. Usually I can just go along at the same time, but there is internet here now. I just need information on how to get access.
So there's
It's an open network.
Okay, guest. Thank you, DCS guest.
Yep.
Got it. Sorry, I didn't think this all the way through for the meeting.
but it's on the internet, then I have the password for it.
It should connect. Right?
Well,
It's,
So.
I'm in.
If we need to go through them, I can project.
and what I will say is last month, we had it on the agenda for
Yeah.
first reads. This is actually first reads,
Mhm.
because we
Didn't we
pushed
get
that.
them all? But there was
Yeah,
not-
we
like, we
did.
had-
Yeah.
Yes, we did.
Like, I remember looking through them.
Yeah.
I mean, we can't do this fairly rapidly.
I usually it goes pretty quick. That's best.
Number.
So,
And our, June 12th, I think they came back up again, right? Okay. And I think we just start from the top of the list and ask any questions or input, and then kind of go through, see if anybody has anything to add.
do we want to
Project them.
project them?
It
It'll be
would be
more
good because we
engaging.
have, we do have like, public here, then they can come in too.
See.
And also-
See how it-
And then we approve them.
Yeah, while we're setting that up, we want to make, you guys took the time to come out here, we're appreciative, so we're going to try to show as much of this as possible. This is the tedious part of board business meetings. And so, OSBA is the Oregon School Board Association. They have a policy department that works hard to provide updated language for each board policy that is in line with new laws and legislation and other requirements that at the state, federal, and well, I guess state and federal level. And so this spring, I think it's been about 3 weeks, we got a large list of required policy updates, and they break them up into required, highly recommended, and then lower priority. What I did for this batch is these are all the required and highly recommended, and then our board policy is to do a first read on 1 month and then come back for second reads and approval on the second month. And so for this batch, it'll take place both this month and our next board meeting is in August.
And we won't be offended if you decide you really don't want to sit through this. I mean, a lot of us.
That was.
Yeah. Understood.
We all would too.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Have a good night.
Yeah. All right, bye.
So there's not a lot of other important things after this.
There is
There's some discussion
discussion items, and so those are, and those are interesting, but, we have to take care of business. I know. But, so there are discussions.
Do you have an agenda, Tom? That's okay.
Yeah.
And we could, why couldn't we switch to that? Why, let's do the discussion. Look how, tell John.
Yeah.
I think that's fair. Yeah,
Save the boring stuff. I agree. When I saw that, I was like, she's rearranged.
So we're gonna wait on this, and let's just go into our discussion items. The first one is the OSBA training.
It was good.
It was good.
I liked it.
We had a training that was actually for new board members. But even us seasoned veterans were really impacted and learned a lot. So it's hard to keep apprised of everything that we're charged with keeping apprised of. And so it was a good kind of take your medicine and remember that this is why we meet. And these are the rules that guide us. There's a lot of guidance. There are things we can't do that many of us have done and tripped over ourselves and found out you really can't do that. So we took it really seriously. We had a very, very agile and talented presenter, and it took us, I don't know, 4 hours. Is it a 4-hour meeting?
3.
Oh, it felt like 4. But I think we all came out better, and as a unit that administers, with the administration team, the board and the soup, I think we're better for it, spending that 3 hours. Anything else from anybody?
I follow up,
Oh, yeah.
an August meeting,
retreat.
and Michelle had shared that a board retreat wasn't something that Mapleton boards have been engaged in much, or often. And for me, the exciting part is really like honing in on those board goals to be able to tie those updates to and bring indicators and data of success and happen with the community. So we have a strong vision and or mission and vision statements, and those have guided my work, and I'm excited to have those goals alongside those.
I think it probably needs to be said that we do a pretty good job steering the ship, but we could do better, and so we're gonna become Mapleton School Board 2.0, just a little more informed, and yeah. All right.
Let's spend more time on it.
Spend more time, right? Okay, so listening session follow-up. Any updates?
Yeah, so 2 things. So there's the 2 parts of the plan that was presented last month.
By the way, this is Elaine, this is to your point. The
Some of your
listening
initial
se-
questions.
In terms of the gender inclusivity comments, can you hear me if I can stand again to share this part?
The listening, you know about the listening sessions that we conducted.
Know about what?
The listening sessions that we conducted after we were visited by members of the community to question some of the same things you just questioned. So we had held 2 listening sessions, and it's a discussion item, an agenda item, these board meetings that we will provide updates.
So the 2 points of clarity and update I wanted to talk about. One is there's 2 parts of that plan that was proposed last month, and they're both process oriented. One is the district inclusion plan, and that is an ongoing opportunity to look at how to make our district a safer and more welcoming and inclusive space for all students. And Annie, the 2 of the items that we talked about in the board meeting would fall, like, we need to get this written and publicized and those kind of things. I will say this month has been busy wrapping up the school year, planning summer school, and starting next school year. So not a ton of movement on this yet, especially in kind of codifying and writing those pieces. But one thing we talked about was the permission slips for overnight stays. I have reached out to spaces. That is a thing we can move on, and we just need to update the form. I want to acknowledge we do have an overnight Europe camp this next week that form is not created for, but moving forward beyond this field trip, any overnight stays, I expect to have an updated field trip form that includes that component on it. And so that's one change that came out of that board meeting and conversation, and that'll be written into the district plan and available online for like, hey, how do we promote inclusive spaces, right? The second piece of that was conversation about locker rooms especially, but connected to that, bathrooms. In my conversation with Kurt Wilson about the asbestos abatement, we got into a conversation about what's possible for locker rooms and bathroom spaces. It was a great conversation. He is part of work at multiple spaces. He was actually driving through the area and stopping at Camp Lane to do it. He's working on a project for their bathroom spaces. And so we talked about the approaches there. And then Sayusla School District, and that was specific to showers, which would be a locker room item. And then Sayusla School District, he's worked with on bathrooms. And I don't know if anybody's been in a I think the right word is multi-use gender neutral bathroom. But I don't want to spend too long talking about bathroom architecture, but I learned some things. When you go to the bathroom, you know how it's usually the wall starts here and ends up here a little bit. The reasoning for the underspace is actually ADA wheelchair access. So if you're in there and you turn, there's a space for your feet to go underneath so that it's more inclusive for people in wheelchairs. I didn't know that. So there's a rule that ADA compliance, when you build, you need a 5.5 foot, I think it's diameter, sir. You need 5.5 feet of something in order to have a wheelchair that can turn around in there. And that becomes the kind of restrictive thinking in a space. So how do you provide those? How do you make it ADA compliant? He did share that in the bond renovations, this wasn't attended to because it wasn't high on the input list, but he does think some things are possible in the locker room spaces. And also more like putting up changing stalls outside of the shower areas that then allow for more privacy spaces for changing. And then if that kind of wheelchair ADA rule can't be met in that space, having other shower and changing spaces available can open up that access. And we actually have 2 spaces. We already have, when you enter the gym, the far left door has a shower in there. We already use that for people like that need showers. And have a private changing stall and bathroom and all the things in there. And then the first door when you walk in is our medicine closet, and we're using that for, you'll laugh, because we're using it to store a lot of tape that no longer sticks, is really what we're using it for. I'm like, why do we have this? So it could use getting cleaned out anyway. There was actually a proposal from our GSA club to look at utilizing that space as a gender neutral changing space already. He is going to, we're going to arrange a time to come visit the bathrooms and kind of walk through and talk about possibilities. And then from there, that next step would be a committee to to start to look at those processes. So this could go slow, fast. There's obviously costs associated, all the things. But that first conversation has been had, and we have somebody we're already working with who's working with people locally on this exact same thing in other spaces. So I'll share that update.
This is a grand idea, and it's, it looks good on paper, and it sounds good in the presentation, but I'm thinking back to reality and how are the students that are in this facility at this time, how is there safety? Because how is the instructor to keep track of what's going on so that there isn't bullying happening in these little coves or whatever? Because it seems to me that that's part of the reason that a locker room is open, is so that, people a teacher can keep track of, somebody wrapping somebody else, snapping with a towel, putting soap down. So it seems to me that with these cubicles or whatever, you're setting up for a major safety issue.
Yeah, and so two things. You speak like you've been in middle school locker rooms, and I appreciate it 100%. I'll share something we talked about is at Sayusla, I won't say who, but one of their administrators has taken to calling those long, so the bathroom change, if you haven't been in one, instead of having that open space here and here, it becomes like walls all the way up and down. And this particular administrator calls them vaping stations. And so there's that's the point of committee work and conversations. Any facility design or any solution to whatever problems we're working to identify and create new spaces, they're always going to have unintended consequences. And so I think everything you say is valid and part of that. And as you design for one solution, is like my engineering background, but as you design for one solution, you create new needs for other solutions, and that's part of the process. Stepping back from that, middle school locker rooms, I pick on middle schoolers, it's all locker rooms, but I do laugh about middle school. They need supervision anyway, whether it's an open locker room or with more changing stalls in there. And where this conversation came from is identification that this, I think, even beyond gender, gender identity and safe spaces and all this, to a T, the conversation was, hey, we like privacy. And so how do we build towards more privacy? And unfortunately, that give and take with privacy is, as there's more privacy, there's more ability to do things maybe you shouldn't. And as there's less privacy, there's less of that, but more concerns about safety and comfort with people that are different from you. So, points well taken, and no easy solution for sure.
Yeah. Because I'm just thinking about in the middle school, in the locker room in general, because I coach middle school girls basketball, and so need to make sure stuff in the locker room is happening okay, and it's very uncomfortable. And I actually, we have conversations about this. For me to be in the locker room supervising with students who are changing, that's not something I'm comfortable with, And so in this case, it would actually make it easier to supervise and more comfortable for the supervisor and for the students, because they could go and change in those individual stalls, but I could see one person's going in, one person's coming out, and monitor that, in a way that doesn't afford them the opportunity to. I mean, they still can. There are actually shower screens and stuff like that. So there is an opportunity for privacy at the moment, but this would be an increase in that opportunity. So I like it. I actually think it would make it easier for me to supervise and feel comfortable supervising. So, so I don't know. In some ways, it might it might make it fewer opportunities for that sort of like bullying, house slapping, stuff like that. I don't know. Just try to work through that weighing the balance thing.
Yeah, and like, none of this is decided. It's really that, hey, that this district plan is an opportunity for new ideas to come forward, be explored, and when action is taken, put into a plan that says, hey, here's how we create this space, here's the steps we've taken. If something's in process, if this was something, yep, we want to move forward, the action plan, we'd have the next 3 steps in there and those kind of things. And so that's where that first part's where we're at, what's happened this month, and where we're going from there. The second one is the student safety and support plan, I think is the full language. I will acknowledge not a lot of time on that, or any time on that this month. But that is development of a tool that says, are we asking all the questions? And if there's things like a student, and this particular tool would be used in supporting a student who identifies as a trans student, right? And so for us to be able to work with that student and their family and say, here's all the questions that we ask, and that's inclusive of the safety and comfort of other students as well. And so co-developing this tool, there is one from the state that we can start from, but I think also there's a lot of questions and how do I say it? A lot of questions have been shared that need to find their way into that plan. We can start from the questions in the listening session as well. So I'll stop there.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was the update. Thank you.
Yes.
We're gonna move to our next agenda item. I just want to say that it's really ideal. It's kind of ideal to have a 2-hour meeting, and this meeting is not going to be 2 hours. We don't do our best work for 2 hours, and we've been here for 2 hours. So keep that in mind as we continue. Sports participation, drug testing. And that's a discussion item that was brought up by a board member, so I'm gonna turn it over to you.
Yeah, I brought it up to Sue's attention just because I know most neighboring districts, or quite a few districts, do perform this all year round with sports. A lot of times as the sport begins, and then sporadically throughout the sport. I know my child has participated in other schools. I just know from previous conversations or things we've had, or concerns or awareness of, like, even like the one person saying the vaping stations, like those types of things have been concerns of ours, and wanted to address the idea of us performing those like the beginning of the sport and then occasional ones throughout. And where to install that, so.
On those other districts, what are they, like, what's the extent of the testing? Like, what are they testing for?
I've heard 2 different things on one of them, but you're mostly going to end up testing for marijuana, other opioid type things, right? Because I do know that certain medications pop up on those.
Yeah.
You're not going to necessarily test. You can, and there's ways to find out for alcohol stuff, but certain tests you're going to do aren't going to show for that. Just figure those things out anyway. And then I've heard that some test for nicotine, but I've also heard that they're not necessarily going to test for that. There's 2 different ones. One of the districts uses swab tests, and one of them other ones use urine tests.
Was there one more accurate, or?
Not from what I found out, not from the ones I asked, that one was more accurate than the other.
What was the accuracy?
I'm trying, do you know, Michelle, since just being long-term, I mean, I know that we've had discussion about this in the past. I'm not sure I have, like, I think it was before I was a board member maybe, but I know, are there any history of our own, Mapleton's own decisions on this to bring up?
Yeah.
When I was in sports, I always had to sign a thing saying that I would be tested. It was all, yeah, I passed to be tested out.
I don't remember. So,
Yeah, and many, and I remember too, many parents didn't sign, and they wouldn't allow their kids to be tested. It's been brought up, and we stopped doing it. At some point, we stopped
Asking for this signature, or actually doing tests.
testing. I mean, we haven't tested for, your kids haven't been tested here in Mapleton recently. No. And, there were questions about, invasion of privacy, false positives. It deters some kids from participating in a school our size. If you're not participating, that can be really problematic. And many of our kids who maybe we would consider could get involved in drugs or use to some extent are the ones we want in sports, because it's the place that they can grow. It's a place they can grow. We want them to participate. It keeps them off the streets in some other ways. So I think and you can tell by the things I'm saying, I'm not a big proponent of drug testing, but this is a board that needs to entertain the subject, and so we need to have it out. I'm glad you brought it up, and we just need to put our cards on the table about it. And also, I'd like to be informed by our superintendent. What have you found out from other districts, and who's doing what?
So I think in our county, there's 3 districts, and they happen to be 2 of them that we co-op with. So I think that's, 4 schools. Oh, that's the same district. 1, 2, 3 districts. Junction City, Fern Ridge, and Siusla, and we have co-ops in place with Siusla and Fern Ridge. And South Line. So I've heard the same about 2 different types, urine and swab. I've heard nicotine and drug and alcohol. I think the biggest feedback I've heard is the false positives, especially for students who take medication for, it sounds like ADHD.
Yeah, the
medication
Ritalin type stuff is going to test as
which-
a positive opioid now.
Yeah, which it's not an uncommon medication. What was the other piece? I'll just say personally, I had no clue it was even a thing, or I'm from Arizona. Anywhere I've been, it's never even been mentioned. I had no clue this was a thing. I did speak with one superintendent, and they've had this conversation openly with their board and talk about this regularly, so I feel comfortable naming the district. Siusla, that it costs them about $7,000 a year, and they end up with between 1 and 3 positives a year, and at least one of those found to be false positive, and so there's not in terms of the return on that, it's not like
Well, I don't think the point is to find positives.
Yeah.
The point is a deterrent. So not finding positives, I think, is a great thing.
Yeah.
Because hopefully, as a scare tactic or a deterrent or an accountability to your team and the rest of your teammates, that's the goal.
Yeah, and he did share that their board has talked about that's the reasoning, right? Is it a proactive approach that deters use? And there's not a research study to say that actually works. Does it happen? No clue. That's not. I have 0 experience in this. I don't even want to make a claim whether it works or not. They did the one stat. The only other part of that I'm not sure is they saw when they implemented it, saw about a 10% decrease in sports participation, and so that's the information I have. I have informally talked with other superintendents who don't have that in place, and there's kind of a, try not to, it's kind of that civil rights infringement, privacy, like, I think people who don't do it, it's like scared to touch it. But that I'm speaking informally based on those conversations.
In my opinion, I think like, basing, our decision on whether or not, we have students who do use whatever, like, then saying, well, we're not gonna test because we know some kids, that kind of is a bad look too, just to say like, we don't test because we're basically okay with students partaking in recreational use of drugs and alcohol and tobacco. So, personally, I would be for, at least trying it out and seeing what comes of it. But yeah, to me, that kind of looks like Mapleton just knows there's some usage, and so they're just not going to do anything about it.
Yeah, I just want to go on record as saying that is not where I'm at all. I don't like kids using anything, alcohol, tobacco, anything. They're kids.
Yeah.
And we don't want them. I don't think it indicates that we're sanctioning that. In fact, I think because we do have other programs that address early on, good judgment, using good judgment and modeling that kind of behavior in our classrooms. That's the education piece, so that's where I'm coming from. It's not the sanction drug use for kids.
I still am stuck on like the nicotine one or the tobacco one is the question for me. Like, is that something included in these tests or not?
And I've heard it both ways from different athletic directors or superintendents I talked to.
Mm-hmm.
I'd have to know clarifying wise, is one gonna test for that better than the other?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that'd be definitely an investigation of do those do it? Do one of them do more? Yeah.
Has it been a thing that in sports or whatever, maybe kids have been using and that's been obvious or whatever, and then it's left other teammates high and dry and left them kind of without another player because of whatever? Or...
I think so.
So
I don't know how much personal knowledge I'm to bring to that, but I think so.
None. We have generally we can speak.
Yes. So I would think so.
I want to make sure we're not
I would think it's accountability to your teammates is nice. I think there's reasons or incidences, situations that warranted me really thinking it through, and conversations I had that was like, yeah, why don't we do that?
Mm-hmm.
And therefore I investigated it.
Yeah. Just big picture question, if we think we're having the conversation about testing for sports, why test for sports but not test for coming to school or something? I don't know. I'm actually trying to weigh all these because I definitely want to try and deter and use all the tools we can to deter use, but I also don't want to. I don't want to deter participation, and I know that sounds like it's hard and we don't drug test when they walk in the door for school. I would suspect the reason behind that is a lot of privacy things, the making sure that we're not making sure that we're making school accessible to everybody, all of those things. So right, compulsory education, yeah. So I don't know. I don't want to.
That's just curriculum. I think sports are a privilege, so it's not like you're not. That's not your God-given right to play a sport. If you're doing something that's not along the guidelines, then that's.
Yeah, I know. We do have consequences. Each team has very clear substance abuse, substance use policies and stuff. And so, I don't know. Yeah, I'm not. I'm just trying to think this through and place it into a context of, what we do and don't do in the big picture as well. That's all.
I mean, I think also too, like, it's a good lesson for, like, later on in life, you're gonna go get a job, and some jobs you do have to be tested for that, so it's, welcome to adulthood,
Just to name the irony that we don't do that in education, like, we don't do that for our staff. Bus drivers is the only exception there. But, yeah. I hear your point on that, and there's something about, like, probably my deepest belief as a leader. You just got me thinking about this. So sorry, I'm going slow, but my deepest belief as a leader is you don't ask people to do anything you're not willing to do, and there's an element of that you just kind of resulted me that having students do that, but not our staff is.
Have you ever had the staff? Has Mapleton ever had the staff?
You don't have to.
Mm-hmm. But in the past, that's never been a year.
Uh-uh.
Not that I know of.
Not under my watch, and I would definitely know. That's never happened. This is the first discussion, and we can continue to have the kind of conversation. We can research, we can check with other districts and talk to other board members and educate ourselves about this and continue the conversation. We're not going to decide.
And I would just think, if anything, like, it heightens the awareness and attention to those policies that we've asked of players, that those policies are upheld truly. And I think I mentioned when I brought it up that a side concern of it is those overnight situations, those away situations, and not just like an away game, like those extended things, tournaments or weekend things away, any of those overnight things, it's not always paid attention to. So the heightened awareness of either we say we mean this and we're going to do it, so it is a deterrent factor, or we're really paying attention to it when it's coming up. If we're not being proactive about it, then we're being active about it when things are going on.
Oh, I hear that, and I agree. I think that's, if we say we don't tolerate it, then we don't tolerate it.
We need to really not.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like the idea of, like, I hadn't thought about this at all. Like, so it's not seeing it up here. Like, oh, okay. So I would love more time to think about it. Yeah.
All right. So now we get to go to the fun part of the meeting, and yes, you are excused if you don't want to stick around.
Oh,
We could do that.
Sure enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have a comment? All right. Then.
My name is, some of you probably don't know me, I'm Jackie Cole. I'm a property owner in Mapleton, and I'm also Jackie's sister, so I have a vested interest in children that are in Mapleton. And the drug testing concept bothers me a lot for all of the reasons that your board, I believe you're our board president, is that correct?
Yeah.
Our board president stated. I've been to basketball games when there weren't enough kids to make the team. And you don't want to be eliminating the possibility of these kids coming out to play. It's a big part. It was for me as a child, and I'm sure it is for these kids here. A big part of their life is to be a part of the team and to feel a part of welcome, regardless of what their situation is. And the deterrent of not wanting them to be on drugs comes from the supervision. It doesn't come from testing, it comes from the supervision. And the third thing, or whichever number it is, depending on how many of your, is that you guys just voted tonight to eliminate a position so that you could save $20,000. I don't think it's wise to turn around and spend half of that on drug testing. I just think that just doesn't make any sense. I would not recommend, y'all can research it all you want, but I would not recommend, from my point of view, instituting drug testing on these kids.
Thanks. Thanks for your input. And I didn't know you had a place in Mapleton. I thought you were just khakis. Cool, awesome.
My husband
Awesome.
have a house.
Nice. Yeah, so are you trying to exit?
Did you have one?
No, but I think this is important for people to talk about. And I do agree with the supervision and the coaches and, and guidelines, absolutely. But I would oppose the test. Some of the same, I mean, not that my opinion matters, but.
Of course, that's true.
But I do appreciate the concern.
Okay, thank you.
And thank you all.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming to desk.
Yeah, really, thanks.
Thanks for coming to visit.
Okay, so we're gonna roll them. Here we are. I guess we're not. Can we take a 3-minute, can we take a 3-minute stand up?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, so,
Like, we can understand some pictures.
yeah. But if there's anything that's like either or, then we will say, like, if there's like and or choices, and we often one of those. So, yeah. Yeah.
Is today the second or the third Thursday?
It's Tuesday.
You read to
I knew it started with a T.
So the confusing part is it's usually on Wednesday.
Yeah.
But because tomorrow
It's
is
every
a
third
holiday,
Wednesday, but tomorrow's a
June 18th, 18th.
Yeah.
so just this one time it's on a Tuesday.
Okay.
But
So
normally it's
usually it's Wednesday.
the third Wednesday.
but not in July.
That's right. But almost, it's pretty consistent other than those inconsistencies.
All the other 11 months.
Okay. Third Wednesday. Yeah. Well, you'll probably see more, maybe.
Oh, is it on there?
Good.
Oh,
Sure.
no, there's the.
Yeah, well, that's what it's about.
That's a great idea.
And they got a good experience, and that's what it's about. There's a lot of children that are financially and emotionally depressed in Mapleton. And I think the percentage is high as compared to the student body. And so therefore, I think it's wonderful that you people volunteer your time and attempt to make it the best experience that it can be educationally in developing scholastics and the person.
Amen to that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's email or?
I don't even have a computer. Yeah. I mean, carrier pigeon. Five. Oh.
Looked like this when she walked in.
I didn't know, and you, it's just, they
So I don't like them.
and there's plans for all that family.
Oh, okay, cool. Awesome. Okay, let's get on with this, please.
Lost everyone.
We lost everyone. We all wanted to go with them.
Well, I guess I'm not in the way anymore, am I?
No, not really.
I don't know. We can also turn it. Yeah, it doesn't have.
It doesn't have to be in the.
Then it's gonna be,
Well, can we move that thing? Maybe, I don't know. Oh.
That's okay.
Okay.
Wall.
there you go, that's what it is.
What am I doing? I'm not, I'm gonna make good at this.
No, you get,
That seems good.
in the days when we use this all the time, we'd be
Yeah.
really
Would
good.
have been really good at it.
Right.
So we just mostly have to pay attention to the highlighted area?
Yeah, or so like, I mean, I think what I like usually it's, we go through these, if there's changes that are just adjustments to be adjusted to whatever laws that don't have any like either or choices for us, then we're like, okay, we're aware of these, okay. But then there's some of these that have like, remember those and or
Yeah.
spots where we can like, are like, oh, we need to make a choice here. Those are the ones to.
So does this one mean that Sue has to designate a civil rights person?
I have designated that to myself, and I have training August 6th and 7th in Salem. But yes, that's what it means.
Can't like, yeah,
Yeah, I feel you, yeah.
but then I can't see it, I don't know what you're saying.
It's your bad eye.
Is it? Yeah.
No,
That's the non-discrimination.
Yep.
Oh, ask.
I think it got good one, shoot.
There's a lot of words for it.
I do have the summaries in these if it makes it, if you want background information, I think I finally got organized here, I apologize. But is this the civil rights coordinator one?
Yep.
Yeah, so in January 1st, 2024, requires school district boards to designate one or more civil rights coordinators for the district, maybe an employee or contract with the ESD for services. I actually had that conversation at the ESD about it'd be helpful for small roles to have it that way, but right now that's not in place. Section 1 outlines the minimum responsibilities of a civil rights coordinator. Of note is the requirement to comply with rules adopted by the State Board of Education. So MSBA is watching for news about these results, or sorry, these rules. Additionally, the bill includes use of the term discrimination, which is defined further in a ORS 659-850 and is used in the new bill. The bill further outlines a requirement for the Department of Education to make training available annually for these coordinators. Finally, the superintendent of public instruction can sanction a public elementary or secondary school program if found in non-compliance with this, with these rules, and has been updated to include non-compliance. No current requirement for language to be added to board policy or administrative regulation. Should consider posting notice of the designated civil rights coordinator and contact information together with the notice of non-discrimination. And the one thing, I believe this is a required, sorry, they don't make this.
It is required.
Yeah, do you have that?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So this one is a required update, so I'm happy to answer any questions, but I want to make sure people know it's required.
I don't have any questions, and I think the solution of designating it to the superintendent makes sense.
Perfect. All right, moving on, unless, does anybody want to talk about this?
No.
And we're not,
It's a really fun
and we're not,
task.
yeah, we're not approving them right now, but like,
Yeah.
then hopefully this, when, next time, it's just like, did we all approve these? Yes,
And you
we all.
can
did.
batch.
That's right.
Yes.
So the next one,
Evaluation. Yeah. That's good.
there are not significant changes to policy on evaluation of the superintendent and administrators. However, it has been included in this update as a reminder to the board to review policy on evaluation of the superintendent to ensure current practice and contract language align, and for the superintendent to review administrator contract language. with the same lens. If needed, revise policy language if different terms now apply.
Right. And we don't have those necessarily aligned, I'm assuming.
No, we kind of punt in this arena.
Between the superintendent and the administrator?
No, just like the superintendent and they like the contract language and stuff like that.
Yeah, actually, we were talking about that a little bit this week.
Mhm.
There's kind of something vague in one policy that then we were looking at collective bargaining and we ended up Googling, trying to figure out how those three talk to each other.
So maybe we do have superintendent evaluation, which I know is just talking about that, but that's part of our board, but maybe like in conjunction with either this current evaluation or future or whatever, like we do align those. Because I mean, this is a good reminder to make our policy.
Like the contract to the evaluation.
Contract to the policy or whatever, like whatever components need to be, but I think the contract and the policy are the two that could occur, either are mentioned in there or
Jared, do you think for this one, before next month, you could do a dive of any recommendations between the CBA and this policy?
Between your contract and this?
Yeah. And the evaluation process. Yeah, exactly. So I think this CBG
Yeah.
and probably CCG is similar. So CBG and CCG in connection with the CBA.
Right. I mean, I guess, because I assume we want the policy about the evaluation to like actually reflect what we do to evaluate.
Yeah, I mean, they have in here the language of at least once each year for a superintendent's evaluation. I mean,
Right.
you can leave that out. The board formally evaluate the superintendent's job performance.
No, we don't want to do that.
Yeah, no, I think that, yeah.
Okay. I don't want to spend a ton more time on it. Just thinking that it actually is a good reminder to make sure those things are aligned, because we don't want to have a policy that we're not following, essentially, in that, especially in a HR area.
I mean, I don't know what else we need to be doing. We do what we're supposed to do. So, I mean, maybe there's language, maybe there's some semantics in
Yeah,
there.
it's the language. So like if there's ever any challenge to it, you say, well, we're following this policy, and then we actually are following the policy. That's all
Yeah.
It's just a language thing, I'm thinking.
This policy is, or that policy of evaluating the superintendent is, my understanding is just we have a timeline that we do it by, and we do it every year. And it's kind of, it doesn't have to be very specific, because it's up to us how we evaluate our superintendent.
Well, that's what I agree. So part of this is if there's specific things in there, more specific things
Oh,
in there
they
than we
are.
want, we take them out.
Roger that. Okay.
Is,
But this was something updated here or changed?
No, they're saying like just revisit it to make sure
okay.
it's aligned. Like they throw it in here to make sure people don't let it get out of alignment.
And yeah, like I said, looking at this in the administrator one, I mean, it's kind of looks like how often you're doing it. Like I said, it has that at least once each year you'll do the superintendent. And on administrators, you've got the formal evaluation will be conducted regularly or at least once each year. So, how often are you doing evaluations? How often is Sue doing evaluations on the administrators?
How often do you do it?
Annual.
Annual. Okay, so regularly is not, I mean, that gives you wiggle room, but I think we want our soup to be doing it at least annually.
Yeah, might as well put anything in there.
Yeah. Okay, how about the next one, bidding requirements?
So they're recommending deletion.
Oh, yeah, that's right, so let's delete it.
Yeah. OSBA recommends deleting the current version.
Yeah, you like that?
You know, this actually might tie to the conversation earlier about,
Oh, yeah.
bidding for this.
Right.
So, exemptions from competitive bidding and special procurements, personal service contracts, and so there's a series of these. I'm going to skip that and replacing them with the new proposed versions of DJC and DJCAR. The proposed DJC outlines the procurement requirements for small procurement, intermediate procurement, regular procurement, emergency procurement, sole source procurement, and personal services contracts. So to the point Jeremy and I were looking through those earlier, we landed on for this particular one, we think we need to still get the 3. But this outlines that that's the language and rules that we're following. Additionally, it reflects the new amounts for the procurement levels passed in House Bill 1047. Yeah, so it's just updating those rules. Yeah.
So where are they? Because I just see a bunch of deletions. I don't see what they're replaced with.
DB,
This one. They're replacing 2 versions of DJC and replacing it with this version of DJC.
But we're not seeing that here. They just want us to delete and not replace it, or it just is it wasn't in this, didn't make this list? Because we're deleting it and there is something to replace it with, but I don't see it here.
I thought,
They all.
They all just say,
well, there we go. That's why we're doing a first read. So sorry, let me read this. And replacing with the new proposed versions of DJC and DJCAR. So we do need to add those into this list. Yeah, good catch.
Yep, and DGCAR. Or
That's what this is.
No, these are,
because
they're
it's
different.
they're
They're
Yep,
different.
yep.
It's different ones and they're all saying delete. So we just need to add.
Yep.
But if it were on this list, I think it would make sense to say let's replace it. Because it's just the law, you know, it's just. Can we add it, say we did the first read?
I think so. I think if we do that out loud in process here, we can add that on there and then it can be batched at the end. Yep.
All right, well, we got a bunch of them here.
Yeah, so that covers all the way down to 8.8. .8.
Right. And even
And
those
this
two are
is a
delete,
similar-
but then there's.
Yeah, so let me get to health, this,
No, there's not,
services.
there's not new personal service contract.
Oh, they just didn't there aren't those policies yet?
Just getting rid of it.
I mean, they can't make us delete something if they can't
Replace it, especially on that kind of thing, because there is contracting policy, like we can't just say.
It's not in the,
I'm highly confused.
I just keep reading the same thing.
I don't even.
Is it helping?
so I think I can explain that part, but I didn't hear what Jared said. Before I recap, let me make sure I understand what he just said.
So the new DJC includes personal services, so it takes the DJCA and stuff, it combines it all into the new DJC.
I know, but DJC is not on our list to adopt. So we're gonna add it to our list.
Yeah.
But if we add it to our list and we haven't read it, you can't really call this first reading. I haven't seen it.
Yeah.
Legally, actually, you don't have to do it.
Right.
It was in the ones that I emailed out.
The DJC is?
Yeah.
Oh, then we did read it.
Yes.
Don't you remember? Yeah, I was just noticing.
Yeah.
Having read it.
So the,
Yeah, see,
put him to sleep.
there's the deletes and there's the editing.
Okay, so it's just not in this list, because I.
Yeah, it just didn't make the agenda, but
Okay.
it's in what
I
was.
don't understand where it's not on this list.
Yeah, so
Right?
take a look at, let's see if I can see this, 8.84
Uh-huh,
through 8.87.
uh-huh.
So there's 4 policies existing, bidding requirements, and then that AR, and personal services, and that AR. What they're recommending is delete all 4 of those.
But they didn't list, it's not listed of what it's replacing.
Yeah,
Exactly. And that's just our omission on here. We included it in your board packet, or the email with all the things, but we missed putting it on this list of action items.
It's, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so Jaren's gonna add an 8.87A,
Yeah, let's not.
That says-
let's not read it again.
yeah, and then 8.87B, which is the AR, and those are both highly recommended.
You know what I love the most is acronyms, and I love them.
Yes.
I hate them.
I know, and I'm always asking, because I
I'm always
feel like
it's
it's,
not, because there's acronyms in Troy's world that are the same acronyms in my world,
But they're
and
different,
that's
so
just
they mean
stupid.
something different.
Yeah. Are we that lazy in life that we can't say the 3 words that you're trying to say?
WTF. I'm just kidding.
That's what I'm gonna say every time I hear an acronym. I'm like,
okay, yeah.
Okay, so the next part is EBBA.
So it's similar. They're
Yeah, it's-
deleting the old one and creating a new one.
But the new one's not on here, am I right? Or is that what's this?
No, EBAR, let's see, are they just,
Yeah,
they're getting rid of the AR and merging it into the, yeah, just getting rid of the AR.
Yeah, and I can give this overview. The changes result in a requirement to develop a written prevention-oriented health services plan for all students. The plan requirements include a variety of topics, including but not limited to plan for healthcare space, communicable disease prevention, communication strategies, health screenings, and hearing, vision, and dental screenings. As a result of these changes, there is a list of policies and ARs included, which have been revised. Recommendations may include to delete or rescind those, to recode, reassign some policy in the manual. There's review the recommendations regarding board policy changes and make decisions regarding the same. Anyway, it goes on. Essentially, they're saying delete the first aid policy and add the student health services, which is a new EBBA, which is on there, right?
No,
No,
that's what I'm saying. I'm trying to follow the pattern here.
No.
There's
There's the delete, but not.
So it's just like the one before.
Yeah,
Got it.
yeah,
But it's in there and we love it.
Yep,
Okay.
but the ad's not there.
yeah. So the ads will be student health services, EBBA. There's an optional infection control and bloodborne pathogens. Those I'll get,
I mean, that's when you make
yeah,
recommendations.
so, will you flag that one, EBBAA, and I can come back next month and say, I'll send you guys something that say I recommend it. There's exactly. EBBB is an injury or illness report that has to be included. The GBEB.
Wait, just skip the other ones. Does that matter? Do I care? Should I be quiet?
There is no, Joe, we skipped the.
That is the, so that,
Emergency procedures and safety threats.
That one's required.
yeah,
Yep, and so then.
EBC.
yep, another delete. EBCA. Safety, that's actually a different safety threats. I think that's its own thing. So that gets into the next part. So what needs to be added there is
once again, they're deleting one and making.
And put it
Right.
as far as.
And there's,
But we just don't have that one.
it's the ones to add back in, so I'll follow up here. I think we included them in the
We did,
packet.
Yeah.
I'll send a thing that says, hey, these optional and especially the optional ones, highly recommended, I think. Actually say do it, the optional one I'll take a look at.
And the other thing is we have, like on 884, we have version 1 and 2, and that's when the board.
And that's what we're deleting, so.
Yeah, so the new one, is the new one,
New one is
version
just
1 or
one.
2?
No,
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I hate it when they give us versions 1 and 2. and then we have to-
Just went backwards, that was worse than.
I'm so sorry.
I was gonna start running.
You're doing executive good work after 2 hours.
Case in point, just exhibited.
Where are we at? 13, 14?
So the next one is the safety threats. It's required, it's new, it's a result of 2023 legislation, requires us to adopt policy language about using electronic notification to parents, guardians, and employees within 24 hours of a safety threat action that is not a drill. We do it. I mean, we've been.
We just did it.
Yeah, we just did. We're doing it,
Same
but we'll,
line.
yeah, we'll make sure that so our practice is good, is our policy matching, and that's required. Yep.
And so it's got the 4 things that you have to include. For communication must include the general description of the issue, the cause of the safety threat, the duration and time the safety threat action is taken, the actions initiated, actions taken by the school or district to resolve the situation, and then an explanation of how the situation is resolved. So those things, the district needs to be doing those things in the event of a safety threat.
Right, so we did communicate, but maybe we didn't say like an explanation of, well, we might have met all those.
You
but
said some
Yeah.
explanation
Yeah.
there.
I think so too, so.
Whatever it was better than the random text that I got from my child. I'm trying to find more. As long as you don't use this verbiage, you're good.
Not Erin Morgan for this one.
It was.
Sorry, I'm not talking about students,
This is it. Oh, can I say that?
Well, you know, we have the owl on.
Morgan would be mad.
She's not watching this. In a lockdown, I'm gonna be a little late for the gym.
You're like,
The end. The end. So
Yeah.
shortly after that, here comes parents. So.
right.
Like leave with that. Lockdown.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but, and don't put any other.
Important. Just say I'm gonna be late. Like,
My husband will also never watch this, but when I send those out and he gets them, he's like, WTF, why am I finding out through this? Because you're a parent.
and I can't take the time right now.
I can text you and I'm like hearing that text out. I panic.
Yeah.
Every time.
Yeah.
Every
Why am I not first to know?
Yes, it turns out. This is actually hard. So, okay, we got those, delete,
G-Beta.
You bet that's.
That's so
Delete it, get it rid
Okay,
of it.
it's gone.
It's gone, delete it.
Okay, is this a new one, the sexual harassment? It doesn't say it's new.
it's not new, it's just an update.
Okay.
I mean,
Taking a process over here.
it is, that one. I'm gonna go to ABN/BBA, or JBA. Yeah,
Are we on the second page now?
not quite, but really close. Shoot. The last one. on the
sorry, I'm
page.
just looking at one thing connected to the sexual harassment. There we go. They modified the definition of sexual harassment. It affects schools and has since been followed up with a renewal revision. Revised definition changes the meaning of assault within the sexual harassment context and adds a section describing the meaning of without consent, which is also a new definition added to the law. When considering these recommendation revisions, please review the designated names and positions listed for receiving such reports and amend them as needed. So when we're doing it, we'll double check that part, but I think we updated that like last year.
Yeah, I wanted to add names and.
Yeah, okay.
Well,
Alright, so now we're on page 2. So GBNAB.
good enough.
GNAB.
And this is the reporting child abuse.
Require.
The Oregon Department of Human Services reports the purpose of Senate Bill 231 to 2023 was to align state law with the agency's current process for receiving child abuse reporting through a centralized child abuse reporting system established by DHS. Reports must still be submitted to DHS as directed or to a law enforcement agency. So this is, no updates are made to the actual forms, but they're included so that everybody sees those at the same time. When we just, it used to be you called like your local office to do it. Now there's a statewide reporting system. They do some screening there and then send it out to
Your local.
and you get a thing back. Yeah. You don't want to be here all night, don't ask me my opinions about this. But the bottom line is it needs to match what we do and we should update the policy.
Right.
Okay.
Right. Yeah. GB.
VAR that goes with.
Those are the forms that they included, yep, just to make sure that we have them all there.
All right.
So deleting GCDA, GDDA, criminal records checks and fingerprinting.
Newly revised rules regarding fingerprint collection offer the addition of a statewide vendor identified by DAS as a, and I'm sticking with that because I don't remember what it stands for. As an authorized fingerprint collector and removes the option for volunteers to appeal to ODE on a fitness determination issued by ODE. The other resulting changes come from a decision to have a standalone board policy.
So yeah, you've got a couple options. The district may begin the employment of an individual or shall not begin the employment of an individual on a probationary basis pending the return of the background check. So the district may begin the employment of an individual on a probationary basis, or the district shall not begin the employment of an individual before you get the background check.
Well,
Shall not.
It would be a shall.
Yeah, it shall not, because what if somebody, yeah, no, shall not.
In the past, we've done, if you're talking fingerprints, while we're waiting for the fingerprints, we'll run the basic one, since we get that basically immediately back.
And that should flag big stuff.
So you got the background check, you haven't got the fingerprint results yet.
Yeah.
Because the fingerprint results can take a long time, and say we emergency hire a teacher.
Yeah.
If,
But if you ran the background check,
yeah,
you
then,
should hopefully have, but at least
Big
you
things.
justified yourself,
Yeah.
right?
but we have hired people before who are known quantities I mean, we may hire, I would say may, because if you're hiring somebody that you know, who has.
But that's not, this is that
when you hire.
you've done a background check. Sometimes you can, but this is saying actually they can start probationary while you wait for the background check. I think it's best practice to get the background check. Sometimes it's, you gotta make these decisions based on what you get in the background check, but I wouldn't feel comfortable
All right.
employing somebody without knowing, without getting the form. Fingerprinting, I see takes longer. Can you read that sentence one more time? Does it say background check or fingerprinting?
Huh?
We're not hiring you until we.
Required
Yeah, well,
criminal
really.
records.
And we shouldn't.
Sorry, say that again.
The required criminal records checks.
So we could say that a required one prior to any hire is a background, is the basic background check. And then the fingerprint one, we say you could be employed probationarily while we wait for the finger result.
Yeah.
That seems reasonable.
And then you've got, if a criminal records check indicates an individual has knowingly made a false statement as to the conviction of any crime, the individual may be employed by the district or will not be employed by the district.
If they knowingly
Yes.
give
so
a false.
Yes, so on your application, you know, you
Come
have,
on down.
Boy,
They should go, whatever verbiage that is,
Yeah.
they should no longer
will
be
not be
employed.
employed by the district.
yeah, yeah.
We use that. volunteer background checks too, that if you don't disclose, that is a trigger for us. If you disclose and it comes with a matrix that we use, but like, if you're not honest, that
That's
raises
it.
flags.
That's part of the background, right?
Mhm.
That was a test. Yeah, you already failed your first step.
Sorry, special education, IGBAF.
I typed it. It's not IT.
It did sound close to us.
Oh, ID, never mind. But I'm with you on what we're thinking, what that stands for. Little humor in policy night. Give me a second to find this.
And it's required, and they are, so.
Yeah, due to a passage of Senate, so there's a bunch of them that are interrelated here, but due to the passage of Senate Bill 756, which requires district employees who are assigned to work with students who are on an IEP or 504 plan be invited to attend the student's IEP meeting or 504 plan meeting. This has not been our practice. And
So
we
like
have
an EA.
to- Exactly.
Should be there.
Yeah, and two connected things to this while I'm thinking of it. One, we're doing that now. And two, didn't we, Jaren, you sent something out. There is
The
Do we-
Oregon Classified Unions group has had a few districts that they've sent something to where they're, not allowing EAs to have access to the IUPs and stuff. And so they're writing to these districts saying, hey, follow the law.
Yeah.
So,
Well, and also, like, it seems like the best service for the student is to have everybody on the same page.
Yeah, so there used to be privacy protection, like stronger than
Yeah.
COGS.
Not a lot of people could look at it.
Right. And so it is an opening of, hey, recognition that this takes a whole team to implement the plan. And so it is a shift in practice, kind of collectively too.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, I would say we started doing this based on classified input in the Wednesday sessions, not law. And then when we got policies, it was like, oh, yeah, we are doing a good job.
I know. Yeah, I was like, what? Why would I not be
Yeah.
there? I can't help you next week.
Yeah.
Don't know what's happening.
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Let's see, so the section of the AR is deleted because it was focused on COVID-19 recovery services and its sunset. I can't not see that. I'm sorry. Is also updated to include information regarding abbreviated school days. So that's one of the big laws. We don't have kids on abbreviated school days right now, but that is in there and required.
The AR part of it?
Okay.
Add language to the independent educational evaluations section stating parents are entitled to examine their students' record pertaining to identification, evaluation, and educational placement and the provisions of a free appropriate public education, and setting a 10 business day timeline. Independent educational evaluations. This is all still part of that law that's abbreviated day. Yeah, this is a note to myself to dig into that further to make sure I understand the whole.
But we're saying it's required.
We're gonna get the language to match, and yeah, it's the IE. I don't quite. I don't think we have any students on one of those, so it doesn't pertain currently. But I need to read and make sure that I know it in case it happens. The legal references to the individualized education program are updated to add references to the new laws. There is a version 1 and 2 on JBAA 504s. Is that on?
We don't have that.
is that functional?
It is highly recommended.
We don't have that.
Okay. Jared, can you pull up the JBAA?
This.
Oh,
This
it's not on
Keep
there.
looking, Abby, because it's not there.
Find it.
Yeah,
See anything?
So there's a JBAA and its corresponding AR that's about 504 plans. We should do those at the same time that we're doing the rest of this. And now I know why they had multiple opportunities for this. This is not as straightforward as the other ones we have.
Okay, so JBAA version 2 is short. Version 1 is much longer.
Yeah.
Go with one. Sounds good.
Reflecting this on.
So number 2 says, the student will ensure all students are identified and qualified for 504s. Version 1 says, you know, yeah, it just outlines everything that you're gonna do a little more.
In all honesty, that would be my recommendation because because we have such a small student population, we don't do these things as often. So when we do search them and look them up, it's nice to have to not go.
We want further.
Yeah. So that would be my. It's longer to read, but it actually helps.
Gives
us
you more
to-
detail, yeah.
Otherwise, we gotta go and find the other one.
Version 2.
Version 1.
One, I mean, yeah.
Are we planning to do a revision of our policies?
Well, we got that analysis back. I sent it. We got it the night of the last board meeting. I sent it to you guys. After this update, some of them are referenced. Hey, that's in the new one. I need to do like like where are the holes, and we'll keep adding some of these. We won't do as long a list, but I think we keep adding a handful.
Because yeah, I think when I filtered it, there was like 150. Bring it up pretty quick. Can't do it. It says like 150 to delete and 150 that need reviewed or so.
Right.
Yeah.
You think?
We're gonna
Sounds
need to,
fun.
yeah, let's have a whole weekend retreat. That's all we do.
That's all we do.
Bring the coffee.
Yes. Busy.
For some reason, yeah, I talked to some superintendents this week about like just getting in that habit of like a handful per board meeting that you're revisiting and having, and it's just part of the practice. I do have it if anybody wants to reference it, but okay, so that gets us through the SPED IDGA.
Yeah. Yep, so this is the next one.
Seclusion and restraint.
Sorry. I have to put,
Everybody's
I have
like,
to put
where
new
are
retainers in tonight. That's my alarm. Morgan put yours in.
You should text her, we'll be late, there's
Yeah.
lockdown.
I'm gonna policy the block.
Just like send her a bunch of letters.
It's like,
I'm gonna find this clip.
EBBG.
The movie Rocket Man. It's not the, it's a comedy, like old Disney movie. Anyway, there's this scene where they're like, it's this astronaut, like he's not, anyway, he ends up going to space with the monkey. Anyway, but at the beginning, he's in the astronaut training and they're saying all these fancy things. And he's like, CNN.
yeah.
It's something like
Yes,
this.
so I feel
I
like
think of that
sometimes-
every time we do this kind of stuff. Okay. JGAB, restraint and seclusion. The procedures for responding to an incident of restraint or seclusion are found in ORS 339 and were amended by Senate Bill 1024. These amended procedures are represented in the recommended changes to Model Administrative Regulation, the AR. And policy JGAB. There are several changes to highlight, of which two are the addition of immediate notice to the parent or guardian of any existing record, including audio or video of the incident, which will be preserved in the original format without alteration. And two, such record shall be reviewed at the debriefing meeting to which parents are invited. So any active restraint. So we've talked about training and MANT training. This is a component that's in addition to, and anytime there's a use of restraint, there should be a debrief that parents are invited to. I talk to parents, but I don't, so far that hasn't been our practice to bring them into a debriefing meeting, and so that is good to review and,
There's not a word alternation.
Alternation.
Original format without alternation. It's supposed to be alternation.
Alternation. I like that, another nation.
Yeah.
Additional information regarding the preservation and disclosure of such records.
Dimension.
I don't think anything else. I mean, it's required. Yeah, and this is one of those.
Yep, take it.
Do it right.
Or do it right.
And so that's something, I mean, well, it doesn't mention, so it's got in here also that the district shall only utilize a training program for restraint or seclusion to train staff and using the district, which has been approved by the ODE. Took out a little bit of stuff. But yeah, so we have to preserve any audio or video recording of incidents. Then with the security cameras, if there is an incident of restraint and stuff that appears on the security cameras, then I need to make sure to be made aware of it so then I can hold that off and stuff and store it.
Yeah, this is one of those spots, I think, a debrief form. Having
Have an AR on here.
Yeah, this is what we do every time, and that's the reminder for this part, I think, is important stuff. Yep.
So pre like AR.
And they've got the hopefully that has some, but they're, go back to that, yeah.
So it's JHC.
Sorry, real quick, Jaren, you said about only using ODE approved, like MANT is obviously, it's approved. What we struggle with is getting trainers for these things in a timely manner because everybody's using them and there's not enough trainers. I actually don't know what the approved list is. I know everybody wants MANT and that's the goal, but is it required to only use ODE or is there other forms of training?
It just has the training program just has to be approved by ODE. It doesn't have to, the training doesn't have to be done by ODE, so. It needs to be approved.
but there's a list somewhere that I need to find and have. Okay.
The next ones are like a bunch of deletes, but again, there's no ad necessarily that corresponds.
They might be.
So there's,
in lieu of new EVBA.
yeah, there's old forms of head lice policy, and then there is an optional policy. So I'll read
That's
this.
over here in the first aid, right?
Well, so hold on. So there's all
Which
these
was
deletes.
deleted.
So there's the deletes in lieu of new EVBA. So those ones we're saying EVBA.
We talked about those earlier.
Yep.
Yep. They just are moved down here. I don't know why.
No, they're over on that other, they're in the
on the
thing
other
on the other side.
Yeah, because they're connected
Because
to
they're-
the E's.
right.
And we're trying to,
Right.
This is
So can we say we're done with? We're done with all the
26, 27, 28,
Wow.
and 20.
and 29.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But okay, good. And then then we're on to the head lice. Delete one and add a standalone optional one.
Yeah, and the optional, if we can pull that up and look at it.
Does anybody think it's weird that if head lice is called pediculosis?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's your foot.
Yeah. You got little
Maybe.
things crawling on your.
That's where it came from.
Little feet on your head.
Let's not talk about it.
It's.
Presumably they had 3 different versions and they got rid of the 3 versions and are just sticking with
Well,
just
that
the one.
sounds efficient for heads.
Yes.
Place.
And I will say, like, this is a spot of discomfort amongst staff who have had it other ways before, so it'll just be a teaching spot for us to, and a lot, like our communicable disease plan, I will check that this matches that language, but I think that's the move is like, during COVID, everybody had to update their communicable disease plans, head lice is one component of that, and then lots of people ended up out of alignment between those two, and I think we're one of those. We have
So is there any major change in how you want it?
Especially students can stay in school.
Yeah, that is the difference.
Yeah.
Rather than just telling kids to stay here
No.
and
it is, there's, and it's like, it's that spot that's always like, but it doesn't always go away, and having students home and missing. Sometimes it's the same kid that misses 2-3 weeks of
Well, because,
school,
yeah.
and you end up, like, it leads to other issues beyond, head lice, and it's one of, it's a tough one, I get it, but this has been, it's been a while, since this has been the recommended practice. A lot of districts have updated over the last couple of years. I don't know the years that these were offered, but
We've talked about this before.
it's one of those, and now it's just saying like, and it's either have a policy that says it or don't have a policy.
Right.
And if you don't have a policy, then I don't know then there's not a agreed thing. And then it's your communicable disease plan that you're looking at, and usually in there, those were done with Lincoln County Public Health, and this is their recommendation.
Right. What good would it do us to not have a policy?
Yeah.
Need a policy.
We're kind of, just curiosity, like, I can't remember, or I don't know, the notification, so that pertains to that student stays in the school, and then is there just general notification to like everybody in that grade, like, hey, whatever, like that?
Yeah. Jared, is it outlined on there about communication?
Just notify the parent and guardian of the student.
But I'm thinking about all the other students in the class, because like you want to know so you can check, so that you
Yeah.
don't let it go.
Because Susie's still staying at school, so like.
There's good practices to say, like, and it's kind of reading between, but like a lot of the boilerplate language is, it's that time of year, tell your kids not to share hats, da-da-da-da-da. You send that out at certain times, but when you get it again, it's like, no, really, tell your kid not to share hats.
Is there any level of like, and I might have missed it somewhere in there, but like when you were talking about like communicable diseases and like, maybe you said state people or someone, but is there any level of that then they're involved in like, let's solve this problem, educate this household?
For lice, no. I mean, even for
Other
things worse than, like, I have reached out regarding some things this year that
And they don't like partner up with the family or parent or household to help them take care of
there's
this?
no resources in place for that, and it's really hard. What we do, I mean, just like, we provide lice kits for families, we do, there are times we have treated a student,
That's what I was wondering. How
we can't do that without parent permission, but these are things we have offered and done to make sure that it happens.
I mean, even like, like money for the laundromat.
Yeah, we do all those things. We are like, hey, we have all these resources. Can we help you do this? And people take us up on it. And it's not like and that's why this policy exists, is the barriers to actually doing this. It impacts poor families more. Yeah.
It
And
does,
so,
yeah.
and then it
They
becomes
can't-
that.
I mean, it's not cheap to go take care of it.
Yeah.
Or in time and money and
Yeah.
energy, all of
Or
those.
you miss work.
Yeah.
Because
Yes.
you can't do it between 5 and 9 p.m.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Is that the last one?
That is the last one.
That's the last one.
Yep. Yep. We did it.
It sure had.
Motion to adjourn.
I moved.
I will say.
Second. All in favor?
So immune from that.
It takes about it. We talk about it. Or where.
Did you move that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Did we
We quickly said, yeah.
Thank you all.
Thanks.